So, all right. Ann Sturzinger sent you a cryptic message. No kidding. Cryptic, really. Ann. No kidding.
No, I don't know if I'm supposed to discuss this. She just sent me like a clip of something that you sent her, and I don't know what it means. And
What did
she
I send her?
she said you want it on the podcast, and she asked me if there's just some girl that's been talking about her, but I didn't know who it was. So hopefully Ann jumps in today. I'm guessing women are angry because Ann is going to be getting a boob job, and maybe they're jealous. So I don't know.
I don't, no, if anything, I told Ann, like, hey, don't interrupt people. I'm batting everybody down. I'm beating everybody up. Like, you let people finish. That's why we're only going to have 2 or 3 people each thing. But no, I don't think anything cryptic. What?
Oh no, you know what it was? She wrote she sent me a clip of you just joking, saying "Don't interrupt," and then I thought that 2 things were connected, but apparently they weren't, because in the ramblings of that female mind of hers, they were 2 totally separate things. But she just sent me a clip, sent me a cutout of you saying, you can be on, just don't interrupt, and then the next thing is she's like, guess who's been talking about me? And I thought they were related because I haven't heard back from her. So
No, I'm not. No, there's no real gossip. If anything, I tell you people up front. But no. How is the boob job fundraising going? You guys got enough money for Ann to get a boob? What does it cost? What's the goal?
Well, a boob job goes. It's kind of like, do we want to do like the Mexican, Mexican doctor boob job?
Fly down south.
Yeah, fly down south, and oh yeah, Ann, you're well. Let's see if she might take a second.
Still talking about boob jobs.
Well,
the
no,
most
we weren't.
Thing.
I was trying to make sense of that cryptic message you sent me on Twitter, where you had the joke of Aaron saying "Don't interrupt me," and then you said, "Who's talking about you?" And I thought they were related, but apparently they're 2 completely separate things.
No, I was just joking about that.
Oh, okay.
How did you get to boob jobs from that?
Oh, I thought someone was talking about you because of your boob job.
Oh, gotcha.
What are we going for here? I give the audience likes and specs here. What are we going? C's and what? $5,000? What are we looking at?
In Mexico, yeah, probably $5,000.
Okay, C's.
Yeah, and then what? How much does it cost for a plane ticket to Mexico? $200.
Depends on the time and the season and the rhyme or the reason.
Well, we can put Ann in the cargo bay with the pets. It's cheaper that way,
Just pretend I'm a schnauzer.
Yeah.
What? All right. So let's just say it's $5,000. How close are you guys? How much did you raise?
I don't know.
I think zero.
I think zero actually.
You mean Go ahead.
No, I was saying I think maybe the world actually prefers Ann, flat-chested, like the Great Plains she's from in the Midwest,
Well, if Ann didn't pose with a face that looks like I'm going to kill your mother and then cut your son's testicles off, maybe this is just me, heterosexual, stupid white guy. Maybe if Ann smiled, I don't know if Ann, are you capable of smiling? Can you smile?
I actually look more frightening when I smile.
I've seen you in person. We've met in person. You're actually a very charming, lovely lady. I love hanging out with you. But then on the internet, Hitler seems more cuddly, to be frankly honest.
I think the internet makes me grumpy.
No, look. All right. When you talk, your image is going to come up. And you got this look on your face where it's like, I'm going to cut your nuts off. You got that Lorena Bobbitt looking face. You do. Why don't you try smiling?
Because I look actually more frightening when I smile, at least in photographs. Like, I take pictures of myself smiling and I look at them and I'm like, it really looks like I'm planning to commit some sort of genocide there. I should probably just not try smiling.
Well, no, but you're not.
Clary, most women don't smile in their pictures. They just don't. It's like the mean mug or the duck face or the, I agree with you though. That's like smile, be happy.
Well, DT, you've met the lovely GF. But she's always having fun when we all go hang out. But she's got that PBBRFBRBF, the permanent resting bitch face.
Who? What? No, she doesn't.
You've never heard of that?
No, but your GF does not have a permanent resting.
That's because you're around. She's so excited to see the true DT. That's why everybody's happy. Nobody has PBRF or Pabst Blue Ribbon face when we're hanging out with DT. But no, like there'll be times I'll be sitting there and I'm like looking like, did I piss her off? Did I say something? Like I didn't say something at all. I've just been sitting here reading Ecclesiastes for God's sake. And I'm like, are you angry? And then it's weird. She'll immediately not even necessarily perk up, but her face is like, no, I'm fine. Perfectly. What's wrong? What are you doing? I'm like, well, you look like Ann Sturzinger, like you're going to go fucking kill 6 million Jews or some fucking reason.
There must be a gradation. There must be a scale of PBRF because I would say I've seen chicks with much more extreme PBRF than your GF. Is that enough acronyms there? Am I throwing enough of those out?
No, let's all keep everybody on. I get enough death threats and rape threats that I don't need to.
Yeah, I don't think I would start with the Jews.
Okay, Ann.
She actually was thinking about that.
Wow.
Who would she go for?
If I was going to commit genocide, what part of the human race? Actually, I would probably go with people who walk slowly up escalators. That's where I'd start.
Not the people that just stop. They don't. I mean, what about the people who stop first? At least the people who are walking slowly are walking.
I'm glad
well, no,
the
people worse.
So
when you're going down escalators, the people that won't walk when you're going down. For Christ's sake, they got no excuse.
No, I'm waiting, Ann. No, Ann, please tell us, who would you kill first? No, I'm morbidly curious. Ann was Uber Fuhrer. Who will we kill first, Ann? Because I got a list.
Well, I definitely like the people who stand still or walk slowly on escalators are definitely on the list. But you know what? I might lose my chance to commit genocide because I would be sitting there hesitating like a bitch between baby boomers and millennials.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
not to rewind, but
boomers are almost done. So
well, yeah, no, they're almost out, and they deserve the life they got. Here's curiosity. It's just so technical. It's the mind of Ann Sturzinger. And why are people supposed to walk up or down escalators? Isn't that the whole like when you're on?
Oh, Cappy's dead. Cappy's dead.
No, I'm not Cappy. No, when you're okay, you go to the airport and they got those like it's
the moving
conveyors. They got the moving conveyor belts. It's a conveyor belt, and I understand it. Even some of them say on the left side you walk, on the right side you stand still because you're a lazy fuck.
Well, no, it's actually when you got like so much luggage you can't carry it all.
Well, right. No, I understand. Hold it. I'm in command. Let me ask the questions here. And when they're on escalators, are you supposed to be running up or down the escalators? Escalators, I think there's a altitude change. Okay. So explain to me why you want to kill these people just because they're not moving on the escalator.
Okay. My understanding of escalators is not that they were designed to relieve you of the labor of walking places. My understanding of escalators is that they were designed to make it faster and easier for you to transit places. If you just stand on the escalator, you're actually going slower than you would be if you were climbing stairs, and you are imposing on the people behind you your slow pace. And the most often that I encounter this is when I'm in Chicago and I'm trying to make an L train and some idiot is standing on the escalator and that I can hear the train coming. I can hear it coming down the tracks. I need to catch this train. I don't want to wait another 10 or 15 minutes or till the next suicide clears off the tracks. This might be the last train before the suicide. So I want to catch that train. And somebody who's at least as wide as the actual escalator is invariably just standing there because
parking their ass
because their understanding of the escalator is not that it's there to help you catch the train by making your transit quicker. It's there so that your fat ass doesn't ever have to walk upstairs.
It's a ride.
Like, clearly these people don't have any place to go. Maybe they're on welfare. Maybe they don't give a shit. But they're and you know, I think your interpretation of what escalators are for is kind of central to your ideas about the world.
This is very philosophical now. Yes, please go ahead, Ann. You have the floor.
You know, people who see modern technology as something that absolves them of responsibility, work, the need to ever do anything except sit there and drink a Slurpee and watch TV.
Those are the escalator people.
Those are the people who stand on escalators, yes.
All right, but all right. Now, I could be wrong. And maybe DT and John Steele. I had completely different plans for today's podcast, but I guess that's out the window. When I am the escalators, I've never thought about running up the escalators. I always thought like you just kind of stand, be at the mall, catch an L train or whatever else. When it's flat, I don't know why that is. I always feel like, oh, they're putting this treadmill over at the airport to make people go faster. They even have lanes like you walk here, you stand here. Lazy people, successful people, and I go on the walking. But the escalators, I always thought you weren't supposed. I mean, you certainly have the right to walk up the escalators, but the escalators was just kind of like, I don't think there was like this compunction or the societal expectation that you're supposed to walk up the escalators. That's one of the places that you actually just stand. I mean, how wide are these escalators we're talking?
They're wide enough for normal people to pass each other, but normal people are never the people who are just standing there.
Right. And especially since you're like, 83 pounds yourself, you could probably fit 5 Ann Sterzingers side by side and go up. So it's discriminatory against the thinner people.
I guess you could say that, but it's mostly just the people who stand there just happen to coincide with the people who generally try not to do anything. So they wind up being wide enough to block the whole escalator. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I see technological advancements like that as something that helps you do things faster and better. They're not things that just absolve you of the need to be a human being with legs that moves.
Okay, so out of all the people in the world, if we're going to go genocidal, you want to kill escalator people.
Well, later
I got a list, and we're going to go through everybody because I'm very curious, and then we're going to be completely honest because everybody's anonymous here. I want to know if you were like, Pinochet, who you going to kill? Ann's going to waste a ton of bullets and gas on escalator people, which I'm not saying the methodology is bad. I just think they'd be a little bit more effective, but you really seem to have the escalator people underneath your skin.
I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night tonight and think, oh, I can think of a much better answer now. But yeah, off the top of my head,
escalator people.
Escalator people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. DT, who do you want to kill?
Oh God. Do we really want to admit these things?
Well, no. I mean,
I gotta come up with fake answers now.
No. Here's the difference between us and leftists. Leftists would actually kill. They actually would. Whereas, and I have the perfect answer. You guys are all going to come up with your own answers, but I'm going to come up with the correct answer, and you guys are going to be like, "Oh, clearly he is wise. He's very wise," because it is true. But the leftists would kill. They would kill based on race. They obviously hate white people. They hate males. They hate straight people. It is painful as day that they
will kill, and they have killed.
And they have killed. They've assaulted.
They've proven it.
No, there's and if anything, the paradox they face is that they're dependent upon the people they want to kill in terms of tax receipts and production. It's like, how do you kill? They're the golden egg. Well, you rely on their tax payments. How are you going to kill them? And that, so that's a quandary. That's a square they got a circle, a circle they got a square. But in a goofy, lofty world, let's not say kill. You could just remove. Poof! They all go to heaven. Poof! They all go to immediate heaven. DT, what group of people would you send poof to happy heaven?
I mean, it's like that. Wasn't there a Twilight Zone episode where this alien species or alien race comes to this guy and he's got a button, and it's like this button will kill all the bad people. They'll just be gone. You know, kind of like Thanos in Infinity War, right? You just snap
I
your
was cheering
fingers.
for him. I was cheering
See,
for
my
him in that
problem with
movie.
Thanos, I would have been on his side if he had the Infinity Stone where he could have taken the time to judge everybody individually and determine, yep, you're worth it, you're not, and go through the entire everybody in creation, everybody in the universe. He could have taken the time because he had that Infinity Stone, but he took the lazy way out and just said chance. Oh, we'll just go 50-50, snap my fingers. And by chance, you'll get either wiped from the face of the earth or survive.
Good observation, because how many of the Avengers died? Like half of them did, and they were all good people.
Right.
Oh.
Yep. And what would have been my only criticism of the movie is they should have showed some of the bad guys dying, because then it would have been like, okay, yeah, it is truly 50-50. You know, some of his best friend dies in front of his face or whatever. You know, that would have made it better, I think. Just the whole point to that end. But to get to the answer, I guess I'm gonna weasel my way out and say I would push that button. If an alien species came down and said, you know, all the bad people, bam, gone. I guess I probably would be tempted to push it. I'm reading Nietzsche's Will to Power now, and he would say don't push it. Because it's the bad people that make the good people good. We wouldn't be good if there weren't bad people. So there's questions like that. There's philosophical questions like that. But I guess if I was faced with that, if it's so easy to just push a frickin' button, I mean, everybody would do it. You know, I mean, if it was guaranteed,
there'd be nobody left. There'd be nobody left
because we're all bad.
Well, no. Think about it. Like, if there was no, murder laws, man could kill all day and he still ain't anywhere near close to getting his job done. I mean, I could, but then at the same token, I'd probably be the first hit list of some warped SJW type who got himself a good 30-odd 6, I mean, I'd be out there killing all day. And people make it sound like, oh, murder is such a It's like, dude, we have laws for a reason. And if you could kill somebody and get away with it, there'd be no humans left. None. Right, left, black, white, Asian, Latino, short, tall, male, female. Everybody would be dead. Everybody would be dead.
It would just get out of control. Like,
right.
I don't want to kill anybody. I don't even
like
killing deer. I don't like. I mean, when I clean fish, I don't like it when I bash them on the head. I mean, I just don't like killing stuff. It's not my thing. I just want to be left alone. But in the situation that you're talking about, it would be like the purge. Things would just get out of control, and it would just be, war of attrition. It would just be revenge upon revenge upon revenge, and I guess that is the history of humanity, is that somebody's always got to avenge somebody.
Yeah, inevitably. John, who are you taking out?
Well, I just like to say is, hypothetically speaking, you can kill people and get away with it. It's not as hard as you think. I mean, we have laws, but I mean, they're really kind of for the stupid people. I mean, I'm not saying that I've ever done this, but you can kill people. I mean, the secret is a lot of times is to kill people and not make it look like murder. I mean, you can make it look like a fall, a suicide, or, whatever. So just throwing that out there. So
but there's no group.
Next time one of these people, if you could push them down the stairs, you say, well, they just fell,
I was just going to say, I'm not going to be near any stairs near John Steele.
Well, no, I mean, you don't owe me any money, so you don't have to worry about it. But, I was just thinking though, and we were giving her ideas. I think, the amount of homicidal fantasies that woman has just really frightens me.
Well, that's what scares me. I mean, like, you meet Anne, you're like, oh, this is a great girl to have, Vietnamese pho with. She's just very nice. And then you're like, what if she was in control of the government? And you're like, holy shit, I'd be sleeping with my gun, like right pointed.
Hey, Clary, I just thought of one. I won't weasel my way out. Pedophiles. Fucking kill them
that's
all.
a good place to start.
Kill them all.
Yep, that's a good place to start.
Oh, how about just Hollywood? I mean, you guys were talking about movies and stuff. I got to be honest, I've never seen any of the Avenger movies or anything. I've totally eliminated. Well, not totally, I guess, but as much as you can, I've eliminated Hollywood and that mainstream entertainment pretty much from my life. I don't even really watch, I don't watch TV really. I don't, go to movies. So I don't even know a lot of this stuff.
Well, you're not missing anything. Well, I think you should watch the Avenger movies. Those are pretty good. I would watch Infinity War. That's an absolute must. The first two Iron Men are good. The third one is pure vagina.
Well, the first Iron Man I saw, but that was a good few years ago.
Yeah, that's like over 10 years ago now. Maybe
that was a good movie.
Yeah. But no, I was just kind of curious because Anne has her war against the escalator people. So I'm kind of scared. Like, what if I'm not walking up the escalator? The Stasi's going to come in and shoot me. We all agree on pedophiles. I don't know. I thought, John, you would have like a group of people. You're like, let's get like, needle druggies or something over in Seattle. I mean, I thought you'd have like a group of people you'd immediately go after.
Well, yeah, I kind of look at it like they're killing themselves. They're doing God's work. It's slowly. It's happening as quickly as I'd like, but they are getting rid of themselves. But I guess, if I could, I think I would kill the entire city of Portland. Because I don't know, I can't fucking stand those people. I mean, all these blue-haired freaks with their, one side of their head shaved, and all these androgynous men, and it's just like, oh man, these people. I mean, what fucking purpose do these people serve?
But that you live in Seattle, like, is Portland that much? Like, can you tell if a Portlandian comes in?
Well, it's interesting. Like, Seattle, as liberal as it is, like, at least Seattle is productive. Like, people here work.
True.
For the most part, I mean, there's a lot of like high tech industry here. There's a lot of people working. There's, I don't know. There seems to be more industriousness here. I mean, yeah, you have I guess the thing about Seattle is the rents are so high. You can't, that they don't really tolerate that kind of bullshit as much. Even though there's all this liberal policies going on and stuff like that, it's not quite. Portland is just awful. Portland is like, there's something, maybe something in the water. It just turns everybody into, I don't know, just they're so liberal. It's just.
Well, that's why I have a question about what is Portland? Okay, look, Seattle, you got Boeing, you got a port, you got several
Amazon,
ports, you got Amazon, you got Microsoft. There's actual genuine GDP being produced there. But you bring up a great point. What the fuck is Portland? Like timber, lumber? What the fuck are they?
Strippers. There's lots of strippers in Portland.
What?
Is that true?
Yeah, my
hairy armpits?
Yeah, my sister used to live there. And yeah, there were like hairy armpit strippers.
Ew.
I was going to say, you've seen the women in Portland? I mean, I don't know if people...
Yeah, and every other one of them makes her living there somehow as a stripper. It's usually some hipster bar. Like, there'll be a hipster bar, and they have, like, drinks with tiki shit, and then they have an ugly girl stripping on the bar.
Ew.
In Portland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the next phase of brew pubs? All the hipsters go to the brew pub and they're like, you know what? We need a really ugly chick to strip in front of us.
Yeah.
But do they?
Well, everyone's beautiful.
No, but that's what concerns me is we could say beauty is abstract and blah. You can lie to yourself. There's objective standards to beauty, both male and female. But Portland, I'm drawing a blank. That's why I'm so lacking right now. Why the hell does Portland must have existed for a reason? A port, timber. It's on a river, isn't it? Isn't it on the Columbia River?
Yeah, I think it was logging.
Okay, so it's logging. But now, to be perfectly honest, I think, we could talk about race and immigration and all that. I look at where the most advanced, whitest of white McWhitey that ever whited. Like, you want to see where white people are going. Well, you have unlimited production, you have unlimited wealth, and you have free everything. And it's kind of a sad testament. You look at Portland. Portland is kind of like where white people will end up if they evolve, millennia down into the future. And so if they're having strip clubs where there's hairy armpitted women and the GDP consists of brew pubs and strip clubs with hairy armpitted women, I kind of, in a very Darwinistic philosophical sense, the white race doesn't deserve to exist. And I know everybody here is white, and many of our listeners may not be white. You're like, oh, white people should exist, but no, hear me out on this. If Portland, and we could even carry it on to Scandinavian socialism, if that is the most advanced, epiphanized, revolutionary achievement of whiteness, well, socialism will fail, and it will ultimately, the white race won't exist anymore. So I look at Portland, I look at Tacoma, I look at Seattle, and I admittedly, I'm not. Well, let's admit, all of us here aren't standard white people. We're kind of, we have penises, we have our balls, we have testosterone, we have self-respect. But I look at Portland and Seattle, that entire Pacific Northwest and the rest of California, and they're just a bunch of self-loathing pussies. They're just a bunch of Scandinavians. And so when you look at it, and there's nothing great, there's nothing good, there's no excellence, no achievement that comes out of Portland. It's all drab and crap and sad and tuberculosis and panhandling. And so I kind of look at Portland, I'm just kind of like, and then that's why I kind of give John a little bit of questioning, where it's like, well, how is Portland any different than Seattle? And he's absolutely right. Seattle, at least there's production, but if there is no industry, there's no, you take away Boeing, you take away Microsoft, you take away whatever production's going on. What is Seattle but Portland?
It says here that Portland, I think their number one industry is the high-tech component industry, it says here. And then second is wood processing.
Okay.
Which includes plywood, veneer, and particle board. And Oregon leads the states in lumber production. So those were real dudes back when they were, lumberjacks are real dudes, but I think
all three of them.
Yeah, right. Now it's like Portland exists because of the greater achievements of the past.
Right. So now you got all these. I'm being serious about this. Like, this is why I can in part enjoy the decline. You say, what is the evolutionary end of the white race? And I think Portland. I think like that's gay as fuck. And not in a homosexual sense. I mean, in a pathetic sense.
I have a theory on this, Aaron. Seriously.
Go ahead, please.
You're talking about white people. Just to get a little philosophical and serious, I think what white people need to be under constant stress, and what happens in modernity when everything is so easy, this is what happens to white people. I literally think we evolved to have like really harsh winters and always be on the verge of extinction from the elements. And when things get easy, that's what happens to white people.
They stand on escalators and look at hairy armpitted strippers.
It's the human Calhoun mouse experiment.
You're
talking about the Society of Mice.
The old behavior.
That was a great experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to give the Cliff Notes version of that?
Yeah, I'm big into the behavioral sync because maybe you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail, but I see this everywhere. They did this experiment where they put mice in a limited size but not tiny enclosure. I think it was maybe one breeding pair or two. Anyway, it was a certain number of mice. They gave them all the food they could eat. Like I think they called it mouse utopia. Like all the food you can eat, were no predators, we're just going to let you breed. And for a while, the mouse population increased and increased and increased, and the mice were happy. But suddenly, at a certain point, with nothing to do and no stress, and most important, there were so many of them that there was no social role for many of the mice. There were enough, mice, male mice, who would have been alpha males in a normal sized group. But because the group was so large, they couldn't be alpha males. So they just went insane.
Right.
And the females started eating their young, if they were having young, because the mice stopped having sex. Some mice quit having sex and just went into a corner and groomed themselves. They were called the beautiful ones. And then it just disintegrated into mouse hell, and they were eating each other. And I think the population just started to die off. And I think they might have even ended the experiment because it just got so gruesome.
Well, they actually replicated it a few times too. It wasn't a one-off thing. They did it with rats as well. Yeah. And I think it literally does explain, white people. I mean, when things are easy, you get unlimited food, like Clary would say, living off our tax receipts, nothing to worry about. I would equate the groomers to the girls taking the selfies and not having sex.
True.
You know what I mean? And also, and then the other, they stopped having sex. And then also, another weird thing was, actually, I'm not making this up, the male mouse actually started to become homosexuals.
Yep. Yeah, it's a frightening. Anybody listening, if you read it, it's frightening. It's like zombie mice or something. I think they even called them that. They're like a zombie apocalypse of mice. It was crazy. And I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but I thought they split into groups and the groups would war against each other, and it was crazy.
Yeah, my theory is that the internet is accelerating this process amongst humans, because not only do we have all the food we need and shelter, but our social system, we're so plugged into this internet where it's hard to find a social niche, because we no longer have small tribes. Our society is becoming 7 billion people, or however many people are online. People feel like they have no place. Like that guy who stole the airplane the other day.
Yeah, that was in Seattle.
Of course.
He was a mouse apocalypse mouse, because he couldn't find a role, probably couldn't find a girlfriend, couldn't find a tribe, went on the internet every day and was like, oh, there's 7 billion people on the internet and I only got 2 retweets on my tweet. That mouse cracked.
Right.
And now he's immortal. I mean, no one's going to forget that mouse.
That's true.
We'll forget him in time.
I mean, did you see the flips he was doing? Holy crap.
Wait, was he doing aerial acrobatics?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. Like they had,
really?
and actually, I'm actually a pilot. Well, a single engine Cessna pilot. But there's getting behind the wheel. It's not like in TV and stuff like that. I'm not sure how he did it. I mean, because I've flown, I never flown a commercial plane, but I've flown a Cessna, and even just figuring that shit out was hard. How this guy flew a commercial plane, I mean, just working the radios in those planes, understanding how to do it is not easy. So like, those like movies where like the pilot dies and, Kurt Russell lands the plane by himself or something.
Kurt Russell's a fake. That guy's just a
what?
Anybody who uses him as an image is also a fake.
What?
Well, yeah, Kurt, you landed the plane in that movie, whatever, the pilot died in her, but
executive decision, I think it was
executive decision. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. But anyway, well, actually, in fairness, that character was a training for his private pilot license, but
that's a hilarious end sequence too, where he's trying to land this huge plane. It's just like alarms going off, or no matter what he's doing, it's just
stall.
What am I doing now?
Well, it's true. Like the thing about the plane, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of things you have to worry about. Like stalling, for example. If you're going too slow, the plane will literally drop. I don't want to get into the whole aerodynamics, the 4 forces that act on an aircraft and everything, but it's a lot harder than you think. Oh, super chat.
Don't know. We're not worrying about that, John.
Oh, okay.
We'll worry about it later. I want you to continue your thought.
I will say that the guy's name is Sky King. We'll say that. He's got a nickname, Sky King. The guy that did all the
Seattle guy that. So yeah, no, but there was a pilot on. I saw a clip on Twitter where there was a pilot on talking about this guy saying this guy was a professional pilot, but he had never flown that specific model. It was like a twin turboprop plane or something. And he said, I wouldn't try to fly that plane because I'm not, he flew some other type of plane. He goes, because I've never flown that model before. I wouldn't do this. So he goes, I have no idea how this guy was able to pull it off. I mean, he wasn't, obviously I don't know. We don't know if he crashed on purpose or what, but I mean, it's pretty funny. If you should listen to the tape of him talking to the air traffic controller. It's pretty funny.
That'd take time. And
it's
the guy's last words.
Almost spent.
I just want to know, but getting back to the original point, I don't think it has anything necessarily to do with this, mouse cracking. It would happen to any race. I think perhaps whites are a little bit more advanced, or we're a little bit further down the mine shaft. We're in the canary in the mine. Although you could argue the same with the black community, given the amount of government cheese they receive. Or you could even say, perhaps this is the closest approximation. The Indian community, American Indian, not East Indian, but the American Indian community, where they just have, you go to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. If you don't have a casino, here's all the government money in the world, and it turns into this, I wouldn't say debauched, but unincentivized, this pointless existence, where it just turns into nothing. But we could say my parallels that I'm drawing, and it's a very dark and sad prediction for any group of people, is if you have everything bought and paid for, universal basic guaranteed income, free healthcare, free everything, like you have free housing, everything is free. I'm not talking even necessarily a communist existence where no production exists and you're living at 1/3 the American standards as the Soviet Union did. I'm talking an emotional and psychological pain and torture, a hell, a veritable psychological hell that is witnessed or experienced and epitomized by a Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, by a Cabrini Green in Chicago, which is no more, by in the white people's version, a Portland, where, I mean, God almighty, I mean, and Portland is even worse than Seattle. Seattle, you guys got needle programs, you got heroin programs, you guys got homeless people. I mean, I was in Tacoma. I wasn't even in Seattle. In Tacoma, there's encampments of homeless people, and they're not destitute. They have nice camping gear. I just wonder, what is the psychological toll? Because in the mouse experiment, everything is bought and paid for, and in our modern day human experiment, everything is bought and paid for. Nobody starves. Nobody really starves. I hate this feed the kids crap. When I see it, like at some kind of, you go to the grocery, oh, kids are hungry. The fuck they are, they're obese. But when you have all your material wants and needs satisfied, then there comes a psychological pain. And we can't speak for the mice, but I can only imagine the hell those mice went through with, like, why is there 1,000 fucking mice in this like 3x3 foot cubicle thing? The torture, a poor young black kid growing up in the 80s grew up in Cabrini Green. The delusion, a social justice warrior, as much as we hate him, let's just try and be a humanist for a second. Put yourself in the mind of a women's studies major, a gender studies major, a sociology major, who works for a nonprofit that never has enough money, who lives in Portland and can barely afford the rent because of housing restrictions and all these other things. It's that psychological toll that I don't want to go anywhere near.
Well, it's so comfortable that people are looking for conflict. It's like they invent conflict because they know there needs to be something to push up against for you to become better, that they just invent it instead of
like hurt so I know I exist. I cause myself pain so I know I exist, so I could feel
it's
pain.
It's just, I mean, if you are comfortable, I think you do look for, well, what's making me uncomfortable? And so when you're comfortable, what's making you uncomfortable is so slight, it's so trivial, it's so nothing that you'll seize it. And that's what they're doing. They're saying, well, this is it. Yeah,
so let's ban straws. Let's ban straws, essentially.
Yeah. My slight difference in standard of living between this group and this group or whatever, even though we're all comfortable. I mean, so I need to fight against that, because that's the new fight, because humans do want, I think instinctively do want a fight. They want something to push up against and fight against to give their life meaning. But when you're comfortable and everything is hunky-dory, so you're just going to invent shit.
Well, and see, that's the problem I think humanity faces, is we've solved the vast majority of major problems. Aside from mortality, you take mortality out of it, we've solved poverty. I mean, by all means, we have. Nobody's living in a cave. Nobody's going starving. Obesity is a problem, for God's sake. Right. We've solved all these major problems, And you could see this especially amongst white people. And I don't know why the Asians haven't done it, because the Asians have higher standards of living. They have higher IQs, they have higher income. So I don't know why they haven't, and maybe they do, but there is something specific about the white race where then we go on these, and I don't mean we, like including us, because we're way too damn smart, but we go on these crusades where the banning of the plastic straws is a perfect example. There's so many, and you're right, DT, where people try to seek out some kind of, I wouldn't say war or challenge, but there's got to be something else to do. They just can't sit and be happy. And so we get increasingly, as technology advances and we solve more and more problems, the quote crises, the problems we face, fucking Christ, global warming. My God, you want to talk about a fucking non-crisis right there.
It's actually a benefit if it's true.
Well, right.
People
up here in
starve
Minnesota.
in the cold.
Right. But there's a psychopathy, or the psychoticness, like an addiction to problems we have to solve. And so now Mackenzie and the fuck around gang, to quote Chris Beckloff, they go to Africa to put in a goddamn sewer system. They go to this place to solve that problem. Oh my God, we got to ban straws. And it's psychotic. It's freaking psychotic because it goes against freedom. It's just like, leave people the fuck alone. But people can't leave it alone. They got to go fucking do some fucking thing. They got to ban this. They got to ban that. It's never, I got to start. Look, we can all slam Elon Musk as much as we want. At least he's trying to do something. At least it's like I'd like to get a zero emissions kind of car going on. Okay, that's a noble goal. I'll go with you on that. But these lazy, inept fucktards, the groomers in the mice experiment, as Ann would say, they can't just sit still. They got to be these Portlandian fucks where they're always like, oh, my coffee's green and organic. We're going to ban this. We're going to ban that. And to the point that it's dysfunctional, where male mice don't want to fuck anymore because there's just no standard incentive anymore. And so when I look at Portland and I look at where, this is why I say enjoy the decline. A lot of people are like, oh, America's still worth fighting for. It's like, no, it really isn't. When you got 40% of the white people, and I don't mean that in a racial sense, I mean that in a statistical sense. We got 40% of the majority of the population voting for basic outright socialism, and worse, some kind of cultural Marxism. With we're going to apologize for this, and we're going to apologize for that. We have privilege. Fuck it. It's over. It's freaking over.
As the happy nihilist, I got to bring it back to Nietzsche again. And he talks about, he predicted this way back when, 1890s, 1880s. He called them the last man or the last race. And on Wikipedia here, it says the last men are tired of life. They take no risks. They seek only comfort and security. Mm-hmm. The lives of the last men are pacifist and comfortable. There is no longer a distinction between ruler and ruled, strong over weak, or supreme over the mediocre. Social conflict and challenges are minimized. Every individual lives equally and in superficial harmony. There are no original or flourishing social trends and ideas. Individuality and creativity are suppressed. And his warning was that as a result of nihilism, this is sort of the logical result is the last man, that they're just kind of they're like that mice. I don't think he predicted the mice experiment, but he predicted that of like right prior to the apocalypse of the mice experiment, that you would have this kind of, I don't know, pussified race of people. This kind of the people that are just, I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be secure. We're all equal. No war, no conflict, no nothing. We're just kind of let's all just live in superficial harmony, right? And this is, he predicted all this shit. And that's what's amazing about reading Nietzsche, is that he really did see all this stuff that's happening right now.
Like 120 years ago?
Yeah. And he basically said his ideas were for the next 200 years. He said he came a little too early, but this is what's going to happen. And I think he's totally right.
Well,
Nietzsche, actually, Aaron, I know you don't like to read, but you read Nietzsche. He's kind of in tune with a lot of what you say. or you think. I mean, he's really amazing. He's a genius.
But human beings are kind of problem-solving machines, and when all the real problems are solved,
right,
they kind of go nuts and start chewing on whatever they can find.
Well, we create new ones that aren't really real problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm somewhat hypocritical in this regard because my life is frankly perfect. I have an easy job. I have no debts. I mean, it drives me nuts, and so I try to channel my efforts towards productive measures. But not once did it ever occur to me to start moralizing or lecturing. And that's what concerns me about the American or just the human psyche. It's like, we got all these. We had primary elections now. And all these fucktards, I looked even on the Republican ticket, because I'm voting Republican, even on the Republican ticket, you got these moral social justice warrior crusader types. They are BA in communications, BA in political science. It's like, why the fuck don't you go mind your own? I mean, why can't you just let it be? Why can't you just let it be? And that's what concerns me. And maybe it's inherent in human psychology. I guess it is, because if you look at how far California goes. And I don't necessarily mean left, but I mean in terms of banning this, banning that. What is the new crisis we could solve? Putting in bike lanes, getting electric scooters. These people can't let it be. They just can't say we have the optimal amount of legislation and law. They have to go way beyond that and always find something new. The choo-choo trains, DT is fully aware of that because we live here in the same community. There's no economic reason to have a choo-choo train.
No.
But by God, they're going to shove it down your throat because they have to do something.
What's that superficial harmony that Nietzsche was talking about, right? That we're all living together in peace and harmony, riding the train and living in our, little tiny apartments.
But my concern is not, okay, I can understand we achieve this nirvana, this equilibrium, this utopia, where we're all just chilled out and relaxed. The point Anne brought up is what really concerns me, is can humans just sit without problems?
Right.
Can we go, and we talked about this last week, about the difference between the social sciences and the physical science. The physical sciences, there's actual genuine new things to discover and achieve. The social sciences is everybody pursuing this white dragon of non-attainability, where we have equality in everything. And that's where I really get scared and concerned, because it just seems like the humans are going to go and constantly want to find problems that don't exist for their own gratification, and therefore infringe upon people's freedoms and individuality. That's my concern.
Back to Elon Musk, the reason why he's trying to push space exploration and colonizing, the solar system, is that his whole idea, and it's true, is that if we can colonize the asteroid belt and Mars, and we can push our habitat that large and with that much material wealth and everything, and we'll be able to expand to trillions of humans, right? Which means there will be hundreds of Einsteins and hundreds of what Nietzsche would call Übermensch, right? The people that
like
cool
us.
Humanity. Yeah, like us, right?
Like us,
older brothers.
yeah, like us guys. Okay, yeah.
And so it's a math equation. And the cynicism of that is just profound, that trillions of human beings exist so that we could produce maybe 100 Einsteins. I mean, that's the math that he's doing. And it's true. And it says something really bad about the rest of humanity, really.
Well, wait, you lost me. I'm not necessarily against colonizing the planets, nor am I against necessarily having trillions of human beings. But what is the selfishness or greed? What's the sin in wanting to have trillions of humans so we can have a couple hundred Einsteins?
Well, it's saying that the value of our species is just in producing those truly gifted people that discover the secrets of the universe and pull humanity forward, and that the rest of the humanity, the great unwashed, the herd, that's the only reason why they're there, is for the probability. You introduce more people into the sexual equation, you're gonna by chance, by probability, produce more of those great human beings. And so that's saying that trillions of people suffer and die and live so that you have the slight chance of producing, truly great people.
Well, see, but and this gets to where I am on the forefront, the vanguard of my current philosophy and philosophical thought. Most humans are a waste of time.
Right.
We talk, Anne wants to kill the escalator people. I'd be a little bit more fair. I'd be a little bit more meritocratic.
Go after the pedos first.
That's just because you're an escalator person.
Okay. Anyway, not going to kill the Jews or the escalator people or the blacks. Mine would be basically we cut all government funding. You starve. I don't care. It would be going back to a hardcore Darwinism. But let's be honest.
So
what?
That's not so much a genocide as it is just pulling the plug.
Well, no, I don't. And see, that's why I had the correct answer. You guys were all wrong. Is you just let life determine who can live and who can die. I'm not going to pull the trigger on anybody. I frankly don't want to be a murderer. I really don't. Now, I'd love to kill communists because communists are parasites. They are. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to kill it. But no, you can argue, you go, oh my God, they're just because it's a political fault. No, it's called parasitism. It's like a leech. It's like a tick. It's like a mosquito. You fucking kill it. I have no harbors or reservations for communists. No.
Well, if somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night and tries to steal your shit, you can shoot them.
Well, it's just we can put whatever euphemistic title on it. They're thieves. They're leeches. They're stealers. That's what they are. But even then, it's like I really have kind of some reservations about killing people. It's just you let life deal with it. You take care of it. But to speak to this Ubermensch idealism of Elon Musk, let's be very clear and honest. The vast majority, 99%, 99.9% of humans since the past 2 million years of human evolution that ever existed are irrelevant and pointless.
Right.
Quite irrelevant and pointless. And so I would like to, as a human race, that'd be great. We colonize the planets. We da-da-da-da-da. I always ask to what end? And there is no end. That would be
his end. That's what he's saying is the end is that you'd be able to support trillions of humans, which at any one time, then you'd have hundreds of Einsteins working on even cooler shit.
Okay, but what's the coolest shit? See, I mean, we can always evolve. If the universe is truly unlimited, then we can always go forth, which I'm totally for. And maybe that is the point of humanity, is to truly explore and understand and codify, to formulate and record an infinite universe. And maybe that's the infinite parallel that humanity runs congruent with the universe and our existence.
I wish I could remember who said this, but someone said that human beings are basically the universe looking at itself and thinking about itself.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
Right. And maybe we're just here to record the events and the activities. I would like to advance. I would like to achieve immortality, not for my personal sake. I just, in general, I think the human race should advance. And we should conquer the universe and whatever that may mean. And you know what? Maybe that's a great gift that the God has given us, that this is a truly infinite universe and it will never be totally conquered. There will always be something new. Right. But I'll tell you this, these fuckers in Portland are not the motherfuckers who are going to do it.
No, they're not.
these fucking dopey white asses who fucking do pot and major in fucking women's stuff, they're not going to do it.
No, they're not.
And this gets back to, one, the vast majority of humans are fucking worthless. And two, if the most, quote, advanced race on the planet, its end goal, or its current environment, its end result is Portland, oh, for fuck's sake, the human race is over.
Right.
I mean, send the asteroid in now. It don't matter.
Back to Matt Taylor. I mean, he's the guy that you want to support. Matt Taylor landing the satellite on the comet.
Yeah.
And instead it's the people in Portland that criticize the guy for his shirt.
Right. And then what percentage of the human population sides with the cunt that said, oh, well, you have a sexist shirt, instead of like, dude, he landed a fucking satellite on a goddamn comet. You know, that's what.
Can you imagine the genius it took to do something like that, and the man ends up spending the rest of his life apologizing for the fucking shirt he wore at the press conference?
Right. Or what's even worse, let's think about this: with the people in Portland were in charge. If whites evolve and we continue to go down this road, he's arrested and put in fucking jail in a Stalinist gulag. So humanity is never going to keep up with this race of the ever-expanding universe.
Yeah, somehow we need to. Go ahead, John.
Well, I think what's happening is that we're kind of on the precipice now, and you know, you all are alluding to it, that we are at this critical mass where, and you're seeing this now, where there's a polarization happening, where there's no one in the middle anymore. You know, as far as, I don't just mean politics, but just as like, you know, worldview. Everybody is just pulling to one side or the other, and you're getting this extremists on both sides, which I actually think is a good thing, because I enjoy conflict, as you guys know. So I believe that, and I mean that in a philosophical term. I believe that conflict brings out more noble qualities. You know, because when things are easy, you know, life is boring, life sucks, and you get Portland. So I believe that we'll experience a new coming conflict, a new culling. This is just another page in history, so to speak. And I believe, you know, there's going to be this real conflict coming, where you're going to have the Portland people, you know, you got the Portland and Seattle people versus the people who live in the rural areas of Oregon and Washington State, who are
Jack
very
Donovan alone could kick all their asses right there.
Yeah, Jack Donovan could take a whole neighborhood out by himself.
They never said which mice were left over. That's kind of what you're saying, is that there had to be some mice in that experiment that remained, and were they
Jack Donovan mice, all tattooed and badass motherfuckers.
They were really cool mice.
And there are nice mice on top. Have you guys ever hear about Jack Donovan?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know.
Well, I know you guys know of him, but people who have met him, he's like the most laid back, nicest guy you would ever meet.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Because he's Jack Donovan. He's like freaking cooler than all of us. He's like
people who are that cool don't need to be assholes.
No, that's true. That's why I'm so insecure and so inferior. That's why I'm such an asshole.
I was like, ooh,
actually, that was not a personal burn. I had forgotten that you call yourself an asshole.
I was like, whoa, man, that was a good one.
Wow. I wish I'd done that on purpose. That was pretty good.
I didn't take offense. I am perfectly all right. I know I am not the Jack Donovan tatted up mouse. That's at the end. Could you just see the Jack Donovan mice smoking a cigarette, like with his fucking squinty eyes, like, yeah, fuck you, motherfucker. And then he's like, see, that's the problem that Jack's got a face, is he's gay, but he'd be the last man standing, quite literally. I mean, he'd be like, and then he's like, God damn, I gotta have sex with a woman to procreate the race. That's a quandary. Jack's got a face. It's like, shit. Look at all this great genetic material I got. I'm like the perfect Uber man, and I just like dick. And I'm the last guy alive, and I am the perfect last guy alive. And then to repopulate the race, I got to stick my penis in a vagina. Ugh, gross.
Oh, gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Well, especially considering Jack lives in, you know, near Portland, so look at the women that he'd have to. Well, maybe it'd be easier for Jack, because a lot of these women kind of look like men. So
lie back and think of England, Jack.
You know, I mean, you dress these girls up as like sailors, and Jack could go to town on them. You know.
I keep intending to visit the guy, and I just don't get the time, because you got to go down to Portland and cut over. What are you doing, John?
I'm sorry, I was just getting a glass of water.
Anyway, I've always intended to visit Jack, and want to go down there. And people are like, are you sure he's got weird shit going on? I'm like, they may be fine. Yeah. And but I am kind of curious to see what his encampment looks like, because you know he posts pictures occasionally. He's got like the chicken roost and everything like that. And the dude
of Finland, right?
Well, yeah, but then the dude only gets more jacked. Like the most recent pics, it's like, can Jack get any more ripped? And apparently he can. I'm just like, God damn, man, like that's that guy is, you want to talk about discipline, you know, like I don't want to look ripped. Oh, I do want to look ripped, but I'm not willing to put that effort into it. But
well, in fairness, Jack Diesel's up, man. I mean, the guy juices seriously. So
does he?
Yeah, everybody who's built is fucking juicing.
You think so?
Everybody who's over 40 is, yeah.
You think Jack actually? I don't know. I think maybe he's the legit deal. I mean, he's always been that ripped.
No, there's nothing wrong with doing it. I mean, you're just that's just the, you know. I mean, everybody's doing it.
I just hope they'll look decent, you know. Like I can bench press my own weight. I can run 6 miles, blah blah blah, and I look okay naked. But then you look at that guy, and I always got a kick out of like all these girls. Like, we have image issues. All these girls that look like, you know, we can't look like the touched up models on Playboy, as if like we never had, you know, Rambo or Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger thrown in our face when we were, you know, like, you know, teenage boys in the 80s. And we never really felt insecure about it. But man, you just look at Jack Down like, God damn it. Shit.
Well, I kind of have a little bit of criticism of, well, not of Jack personally. I don't really know him personally. I never really had a one-on-one conversation with him. I've been in like group chats with him, but a lot of that is like, you'll notice is about homosexuals and the guy who wrote, what's that author? He wrote Pushing Rubber Downhill. His name
Adam Piggott, good friend of mine.
Yeah. Adam Piggott talked about this, and he had an interesting column about homosexual men is they'll get obsessed with beauty in their own. It becomes a form of masturbation where they, you know, like the amount of time someone like Jack Donovan spends in, you know, working out, going to the gym, you know, injecting testosterone into his thigh. A lot of that is because male sexuality is all about, you know, there's nothing else to it because there's no procreating, there's nothing like that. So it's a form of self-obsession.
So there's like no goal or achievement. So there's always room to improve, is what you're saying?
Not necessarily. Well, I guess it would be like improving, like for what sake? I mean, it's kind of like there's an obsession with, you know, male looks because it's, you know, I mean, if you're a homosexual, it's almost like jerking off to your own, you know, reflection.
Yeah, you're saying narcissism, basically.
Yeah, it's a a very specific form of like sexual narcissism, hedonism. So it's because there's nothing else in life except you know, this is something that's part of the homosexual community. They're extremely hedonistic, if you notice, and they're, because there's no higher goal than, you know, your cummies.
Well, and there's no real consequence either because there's no child that results.
Right.
It's you know, the AIDS is what the first consequence, really, right? For the gay community, where you, whoa, shit, you got to be fucking careful, or you might get AIDS, and was the first, you know, other than the social stuff and people fucking killing these people because they're gay in the past, but as far as, you know, actual physical, like life changing, AIDS is it, really. I mean, for heterosexuals, it's, you constantly got to be worried if you can, you know, support a child that results. So
yeah, like there's a consequence to like sexuality has another component to it other than just getting off, where,
right,
you know, for homosexuality there never is that point. Also, the male sexuality has to be tempered by female, let's say, deference,
prudence,
and yeah, a prudence and
boringness.
Well, anti-fun. If it's just men, I mean, you know, men are going to be fucking like crazy, you know.
Right.
And
well, that was the Nazis, right? Weren't the brown shirts just fucking each other all the time? I mean, that was sort of their deal, was that they believed in the whole Spartan thing.
No, I mean, that's kind of bullshit. The reason the brown shirts came about was actually to fight the communists. I think there's parallels you could make to Weimar Germany in the U.S. right now, and I don't mean it like, oh, because we're turning into Nazis, but a lot of people don't realize one of the consequences, if Hitler had never come around, people say, oh, wouldn't it be great? If Hitler had never come around, you know what would have happened? Spain would have went communist first. Well, no, Germany would have went communist because there was only two. I mean, basically got down, there was like 35 parties in Weimar Germany. It was ridiculous. And the two major parties were communism and National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Yeah, and they weren't even majorities, right? Yeah.
Well, there was 35 parties, so you never could really. I mean, it's like Europe today. There's never one party. They form these coalition governments.
Yep, that's right.
And so it was the same thing then. And basically, what happened? The brown shirts came about. A lot of people don't know this is because the communists used to go in and beat the shit out of everybody who was having kind of like what they do now, like the Antifa crowd. I mean, that's what that harkens back to Spain. The pre-Franco Spain.
No, I agree with that, but they like to fuck each other too, right? I mean,
what happened was Rom, who was a World War I vet, a lot of the brown shirts were made up of World War. He was a homosexual, and he was head of course, Hitler had him killed.
Yeah.
But he was a homosexual. He was a degenerate, and Hitler couldn't stand degeneracy. And one of the reasons Hitler hated degeneracy so much was because what happened to Germany after the war, because their economy collapsed, everything like this. Berlin is where you went to if you wanted to see a 12-year-old boy get fucked by a donkey. That was where you went to, and people were so poor and so desperate for a nickel. That's what you could do. And
during the hyperinflation, yeah,
right. And not just all of it. I mean, there was. I mean, one of the reasons the hyperinflation happened was because anyway. But the economy was fucked even before the hyperinflation. But that's what happened, and not to get in this whole long history spiel here, but basically you have a polarization happening. It's kind of the human condition. You're going to have I mean, before the war broke out, Germany was, considered a mecca, like from what it, after losing World War I, where it was completely devastated. There was actually a book written by an American who went to the Berlin Olympics in '36. I think it was called Look to Germany, because the United States was in the throes of the Great Depression, and they saw that Germans came out of it, and they say, "Holy fuck, these people got it together!"
Right.
And because everybody was at work, everybody was productive, everybody, it was like the antithesis of Portland.
There's a reason why he was the man of the year. Hitler was the man of the year, right? On Time.
Time magazine.
Yeah.
I have a couple. Sorry. Go ahead.
But so that is, I think there's a lot of parallels. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. And there's a lot of parallels with that now, where you're seeing outright communists winning primaries. Like Aaron was just talking about the primaries. Who's that really? And not only is she a communist, socialist, but she's a fucking moron.
Eyeballs and teeth.
Eyeballs and teeth. Call her. Rich girl from whatever part of New York it was.
Acacia Cortez, I think is her name.
And she's ugly. I mean, she has nothing going for her except that she's a communist. I mean, she's ugly, she's stupid, and she's a communist. And but because she's a communist, they voted for her. And despite the fact that she beat like a long time incumbent, and these guys are almost impossible to dislodge once they've been in office for everything, because they have the political machine behind them. And she beat the guy. I mean, that's how far that's how much we're polarizing.
Right. She is sort of cute for a leftist, though. I would say that. I mean, for somebody on the left, she's sort of cute just because she's young.
Yeah, I guess if I had to fuck somebody with Down syndrome, sure. I guess that's the hottest person missing a chromosome. Sure.
I wouldn't fuck her with Ann stick.
No.
I don't know if I can even find that. It's somewhere under the bed.
It's there.
But I can lend it to you if you ever meet her.
No, I wouldn't.
I did want to, because we tangented a little bit, but I did want to bring this back because it did address the issue of unlimited resources and having no restrictions. And I wonder if humankind can be without. If we have unlimited resources, unlimited restrictions, we'll find something, and people with blue eyes will fight people with brown. I mean, we will find a reason to fight. But I wonder if humans don't need some kind of limitations. And you hit on it, John, when you're talking about the gay community. My best friend is gay. And I've been in many gay clubs. And you are right, where if you have men, gay or not, men like to have sex. Women don't like to have sex. I know they do. I know, Ann. Don't go leftist on me.
No,
Women,
I'm just saying that unfortunately that's true for most of them, but I'm a fruitcake.
most women do not like sex as much as men. And I think there's a balance there. I think that is designed by purpose, because if women wanted to have sex as much as men, we'd have overpopulation and we'd die from overpopulation. So I think there's a balance there. I'm not happy about that fact.
Plus, we'd never leave the bedroom. But
yeah, we'd all be like, just like, hey, how you doing? But anyway, in a cross section, a small cross section of humanity, there is an instance where you have men who are gay, but they're still men, and they like to have sex. And there is no cost or consequence, technically, where these guys are just banging each other left or right. But then inevitably, life throws a screwball at you, and now you got to deal with STDs and AIDS. And I'm wondering, as we approach, we could talk about the roboticized economy, and we could talk about unlimited production. I don't think humanity is going to be able to survive it where we don't have problems. We are always going to find a reason to fight, to strive. And unfortunately, once we conquer the universe, once we conquer reality, we're going to turn in on ourselves and start destroying one another. Because, well, you got blue eyes and you got brown eyes. You got that color skin, you got that color skin. You're a female, I'm a male. And some of this is already happening. To a certain extent, because the vast majority of problems have been solved, and now the problems are so petty. But the gay community is a very interesting. I always like it looking at different groups of people as canaries in the mine. I look at the Black community in terms of socialism, like what can non-Black people expect to happen when we implement a full government system or a father figure. I mean, the government takes care of everything. Look to the Black community. What would a female utopia, a female theocracy look like? Well, we can look at feminism. And if you have unlimited resources and unlimited and no cost or consequences, you look at the gay community, where I envy them, frankly. It's like, wow, dude, you got a bunch of people that you want to fuck and they want to fuck you too. Holy shit, that's awesome. That's great. There's always something. There's some natural limitation. It may not be STDs or AIDS, but there's always some natural limitation that comes in and stops you. And then this speaks nothing of the psychological consequences and ramifications that people within the gay or homosexual community face, where, what's a life of just getting blown by the dumpster at gay nightclubs every night? I mean, it sounds fun to a 20-year-old, but what does that do to you as a 40 or a 50-year-old down the road?
Man, I got a gay friend who I feel so bad for him. He's a true romantic. He doesn't want to have like nameless, faceless sex. Like, he wants to have a husband. Like, he doesn't want to start it casually. Like, he falls in love with guys and he courts them, and this just terrifies them. Like, he can't even get laid because he's a romantic and he wants to have like a traditional relationship. I feel so bad for the guy.
And he's what, 50 something, you said?
Yeah, he's old. He's a couple years older than I am. Yeah, something like that.
I got my buddy Khan, and I've known him for over 25 years. So we were in our 20s when we first met. And you go out and you go to the gay nightclubs, everybody's having a good old time, blah, 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 blah. But then you don't, when that's over, when that ends and the nightclub closes, you don't see the poor gay guy or the lesbian woman going home back to their apartment. And my buddy Khan, who's the greatest, I mean, any gay guys out there looking for a great guy, a little eccentric, but a great guy, he can't find a guy, in part because I know they try to promote that, the homosexual, the alternative lifestyle is like, oh, they're practically half the population. No, they're not. They're very small. And you're talking 2, maybe 3% of the population. And he's too old now to be going to these nightclubs like, hi, oh my goodness, hello. That's even a smaller fraction, although a very vocal fraction of the gay community. And he just wants to find a guy to settle down with. And he can't. He can't because they're just not out there. And that community is more geared towards, I don't want to say hedonism, but living in the moment, not necessarily long-term relationships.
Well, they're also obsessed with youth, and that's why you'll have these gay men like Jack Donovan. I don't want trying to pick on him, but just because we all know who he is and he's gay, where he's obsessed with looking young and his physical appearance, because that's all what it's about. Like there's no cycle of life if you're gay, where you go, the seasons, where you get married and you have kids, and then life becomes about them. And I know a lot of us, here don't have kids, but I don't, at least not that I know of. Ann doesn't. Ann's an actually anti-natalist. Aaron, you don't have kids.
Nope.
So a lot
I
of
do.
them. Yeah, you do. Yeah, good for you. But there is no, and I think us, not having kids, a lot of that is because I think to some extent we are a little bit hedonistic and overly self-involved.
I'm not disagreeing with you. That's a minor reason we don't have kids, but I guarantee you, me, and Ann, and the vast majority of Gen Xers who are now should have been fathers or mothers by now, the reason we didn't have it is because we could barely support ourselves.
Yeah,
I think that's the vast majority of the reason. And looking, I mean, and again, I'm not saying this to kiss everybody's ass, but we're smarter than the average bear. We look at what's happening in the world. It's like, no, I'm not, and not. Our childhoods were not exactly the greatest. I mean, there's damn good reasons, legitimate reasons we don't have kids.
Yeah.
But that does not, that's an aside where within the gay community, all you have is sex. Maybe you could adopt. I understand that you adopt a kid and that's good and noble. But you're not going to ever have your own kid between two guys or two gals.
Well, the gals could have a kid.
Yeah, but not between themselves, not a biological.
Right,
no.
but they could each have half, half of what's theirs, I guess, basically.
Yeah, fuck that.
Lesbians are a little different than, I mean, gay men, they would have to find a surrogate or
sure.
Or,
but this harkens back to what like gay women, one of the problems they have the opposite thing that happens. There's the expression called lesbian bed death, where because you were talking about men want to have sex more than women. Well, eventually among lesbian couples, they stop fucking each other because
they're women.
Yes. Right. So it's the opposite of men who are, constantly, like bathhouse sex. And then for women, it's like, maybe at first they're, scissoring each other, but then after a while they're like, eh.
That's like light a candle, drink some wine, pet a cat.
I think what you guys are talking about though is just structure of there being a point to your life, basically, that life traditionally has had a structure. You've got this kind of genetic imperative that you want to continue your genes, and then everything's based around making sure that your genetic material continues on to the future and is able to reproduce as well. I mean, that's what families are. And without that, what is the point? What is the structure? What is, is it just hedonism? Is it just this last man thing that we were talking about earlier, where you're just avoiding conflict and trying to be comfortable and secure and we're living in harmony and all this kind of stuff, where if you're reproducing, you want to make sure that your progeny kick ass in the future. I mean, that's what you really want, is you want a future where they're able to succeed and thrive and do great things. And if we're not doing that, how do we? It's a very interesting. I think John's right, where we are on this it's kind of a crossroads. It's kind of a decision point. I characterize it as, are we going to decide to evolve? Are we going to take the next step of evolution, or are we still going to rely on the sexual drive being our evolutionary force? Or now that we're all comfortable, are we going to find something different to push us further than just our need to basically continue our genes?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, Anne kills her mates, so she's not going to have kids. John, he made damn sure. Me, I insist on providing a better life for whatever theoretical children I would have than myself, and I can't provide or guarantee that. Why'd you have kids? I mean, you're no dummy. You're
Who,
not.
me?
You are not unaware of the risk of the future. Why did you have kids?
I don't think. I mean, for most people, there isn't a why. I think for most people, it's what you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have a family.
Yeah, but I don't believe you did that. You're not the supposed to guy. You probably thought this through a little bit more than the average bear.
Well, I mean, I'm fairly successful. I'm fairly smart. I knew that we could. I mean, we waited to have kids to make sure that we could take care of them.
Mm.
So there was that, you know, okay, yeah, we definitely can do this aspect to it. But I mean, human history is having kids. I mean, so it's sort of, I mean, to say it's a choice, I don't necessarily know that. I mean, since forever we've had kids. I mean, that's why we're all here. Is because somebody decided to have us, whether that was
without our opinion or voice.
Yeah. So you know, it's just what humans do, and I think the interesting thing is that it is a choice. And so what does that mean? I mean, that's why there's demographic problems in countries that are rich, is because you do have that choice of, well, can I take care of this kid? Yeah. And so that's why white people aren't having kids. I mean, prosperous countries, they have demographic problems. They kill their kids through abortion or whatever. And then that's the excuse for, oh, we need more immigrants. We need more people because we need this demographic problem that we've created by our own choices. Now we're going to, you know, fix it by bringing in other people that
less productive
isn't a good idea.
Yeah. No, I know.
So
no,
I mean,
I'm aware of it. I was just curious why you decided to have kids, because again, you're no dummy. You're quite philosophical.
Well, I mean, and life to me, I mean, I got married, and at some point it gets kind of boring too. It's like you do need a new challenge, and having children. Shit. I mean, I'm an engineer, and raising kids is a lot more fucking hard than engineering. I mean, it just is. It's a totally different equation.
I've met Bert and Ernie, and they're charming. They're wonderfully behaved. You got good kids. I can only imagine if you had hellions to raise.
We had problems. I mean, we had health problems with our first child. I mean, she was born 3 months premature. She was only a pound. People that have listened to me on my podcast, I've kind of detailed all the issues that she's had. So, you know, in wanting to have a new challenge, that was not what I really wanted, but that's what I was given. And we succeeded and we overcame that. And it is probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life is as she's still breathing and she's still a great kid and she's doing great when she started out in this world, you know, basically struggling to survive.
Right.
So, but I think for me, that was it. Life does get stale. I mean, John was talking about, yeah, we do need this conflict. We do need something to overcome. And if you're just waking up every day to go to work and, you know, I mean, what's the point? I mean, so kids raising a family and doing it well is a challenge. I think a lot of people do not rise to the challenge. And that's too bad. That's unfortunate. Because it is the coolest thing you'll ever do, because you're basically raising another human. You are creating another human. Every decision that you make in your parenting is creating who that person is going to be. You are building a human being.
Well, that's amazing. I really respect you because you and I know each other personally. We live not too far away from one another, and I've seen your family. You spend time with your kids. You actually raise your kids. And again, let's get back to white people, Portlandia. If this is the inevitable outcome where you outsource your kids to daycare and you can't wait till they get to school, that's horrible. Just horrible. I mean, I think it's child abuse where you're like, I'm going to ship my kids off to daycare and I can't wait to ship them off to school because then that way, I mean, and I think women are just evil. I may be unconscious, but I find it despicable that women put their careers ahead of their children. And I'm not, me, I'm very libertarian when it comes to like, yeah, you should be able to do whatever you want. But by God, if you have kids, somebody ought to stay home and raise them. And you did. And you did. And that's why your kids, I almost guarantee you, that's why your kids are so well behaved. And they think I'm pretty freaking cool, which is an indication of good rearing. Very good rearing.
Oh, God, Aaron, you don't want to hear the worst thing I've heard this week.
I do, because it's going to make me angry. And then it's going to make me hate people even more than I do right now.
Does that have to do with kids?
Here you go. Strap yourself in. Buckle in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
There's a trend where single mothers who can't get daycare when they go to work are drugging their kids to sleep.
Oh my God.
What?
So that they'll be in a stupor and they can leave them alone unsupervised and go to work.
Like with what? Sleep-in pills or something? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, that's basically what devices are. Parents that allow their kids to be on these devices and have these devices babysit them is bad enough, but actually drugging them, not using the brain chemistry that results from using the device, but actually injecting into their brain some kind of chemistry that creates the same effect. That's just fucking evil.
What?
And it makes you wonder, why do they even have these kids?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You said single mothers, and I was going to ask, is it stupid of me to ask where the father was, or is that just...
Who knows?
Is it Chicago, or is what? This is just nationwide?
It's nationwide. It was a general piece. I don't know how widespread the thing is, but they had at least a couple of examples of mothers who were just like, "Yeah, I don't have a husband. I need to have a job." I mean,
I wonder about this study there, because most single mothers, they're all welfare queens, so I'm guessing that. I'm wondering how many of them. I think more likely that they're drugging their kids so they can go off and get their fuck on it.
And dates. Yep. I would agree with that, John. Yep.
Well, at least that would make some kind of practical sense. Like, okay, I had the kids so that I can get a welfare check. But if you're having a kid and not even getting a welfare check out of it, you just had it so that you have to drug it so you can go to your job. I don't understand the incentive or why you brought.
I hate to sound so crass and simplistic, but I think Tom Likas, and if none of you have heard of Tom Likas, I strongly recommend you tune in. Tom Likas. I think Tom Likas said it best. For men, getting off is like taking a piss, and for women, having a kid is like taking a dump. And I think it's genetic. I think it's biological. I don't think they think through it. I don't think the vast majority of women or men, for that matter, really take the time to put themselves into the situation of their children and understand the altruism that is required to raise that child and the selflessness. Like, this is another human being. I really think the vast majority of mothers and fathers today view their children as furniture or a car or an SUV, and they don't take the fucking time to actually raise that damn kid. They think it's a material object, like my camcorder right here, or my coffee mug right here, or my cell phone right here. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have sentience. It doesn't have emotions or feelings. It's the most greedy, and this is why I loathe the baby boomers. And I think God has created a whole new realm of hell just for the baby boomers and people who talk in the theater.
The 10th level, good Firefly reference there, but
thank you.
10th level of hell. Is there 9 levels of hell? So there would be a 10th.
This would be the 13th. I just, and you guys know me. I'm no great saint, but my God, how you can take an innocent kid and drug it or use it for a welfare check, or as we talked 2, 3, 4 episodes ago, lord your HUD Section 8 housing over your son who wants to join the military. And if he goes join the military and you don't have another dependent on you, then you lose your HUD allowance.
Right.
The despicability. And this transcends races. I'd even say that a lot of the professional white and Asian women are especially guilty of this, where their career matters more than anything else, including their husband and their own goddamn kids. And and I could see it. And I almost would guarantee, as you pointed out, Ann or John, you said, well, wait, don't they get a welfare check? No, these aren't women they got to go to work. So they're obviously working. And then they drug their kids up with sleeping pills.
Yeah.
And again, enjoy the decline. I just enjoy the freaking decline.
Sorry, I'm kind of convinced there's a Dunning-Kruger effect that applies to reproduction.
Like remind me what that means. I recognize the term, but what does that mean?
Smarter than you think you are.
Well, people who are idiots think they're smart, and people who are smart think they're idiots.
Right. Yep. Okay.
So, and this the more you think about this concept, the more it applies. Like the ugliest people think they're hideous. The prettiest girls are always like, "Oh, I have a mole." And the people who make the worst parents are the ones who don't think twice about it and are just like, well, of course there should be another me. Why not? I'm going to have 5 of them.
So you've been to Wyoming.
And the people who actually think it through, I mean, I've heard Gavin McInnes talking about this. And Aaron, you and I are just typical examples of Gavin McInnes talking about his Gen X friends who don't have kids because their parents kind of fucked them up and they had a difficult childhood and they didn't make quite enough money. So
they didn't kind of fucked up. They majored in fucking up, got doctorates and specialists at fucking up, and then they wrote the book on fucking up.
Yeah, well, that was a litode, but
the Olympics made a whole new category called fucking up, and my parents got the gold medal in it. Well, maybe not the gold, but the silver.
Well, anyway, they fucked up massively. So people who have that happen in their life and they're thoughtful are going to go, well, I don't really trust myself with kids, so I'm not going to have kids. And then they don't have kids. But then the people who also had fucked up parents but are stupid.
Bring kids into the exact same hell, not knowing. Yeah, no, I know. I
gotta agree with Dan on that. I mean, if I'm really honest, one of the reasons I didn't get, or even get married for that matter, was because I was terrified of fucking up. Because my parents did win the gold. As far as that goes, I mean, I talk about dysfunctional people, but so a lot of that was really just fear. I was like, I don't want to bring a kid. I mean, I'm fucked up enough. I mean, I don't want do that to another human being. That's cruel.
Yeah. We have that choice now. I mean, that's what's different. I mean, this is only in the last 100 years. We're still the whole birth control thing. This is very recent. I think we're starting to understand how it's impacted society. And yeah, the responsible people, now they have the choice of whether to reproduce or not. In the past, I mean, you didn't really have a choice. I mean, no matter how careful you are, if you don't have contraception, you're gonna fuck somebody and a kid is gonna result eventually, right? I mean, that's
anal.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? I mean, that's people in the past, I'm sure people felt the same way. Like, holy shit, I can't bring somebody into this world, but it just happens, right? It just happens.
That's in the old day. What I think John was alluding to, and I hate to sound so dark and macabre, and I'm sure Beckloff and Matt Forney go, "Oh, you're just so pessimistic, Gen Xer." It's like, yes, because I don't live at home. Ow, shit, ow. Love you, Chris. Love you. Just gotta bust your balls. But John is 100% right. If I look back, and one of the main reasons I never wanted to have kids, aside from it being genetically beat out of me, like the idea of having kids disgusts me. It's because it threatens my individual life. Like I can't eat. There's also, when I look back in hindsight at my life, even though I, relatively successful, I look at it and I'm like, God, was I a fucking mess? Was I a fucking mess? And you don't realize you're a fucking mess until you're older, and you still are a fucking mess in ways you have yet to determine. And so I'm sure when I'm 60, I'm going to look back when I was like, oh God, I was 43, I was a fucking mess. And you almost pass on a virus or a disease having another kid. If you bring it, and some people I would just say are cursed or diseased. And if you're really smart and honorable, you just say, you know what? It ends here. The disease ends at this genetic line. This is a dead branch of the tree. It ain't going to go nowhere else. I've always had the offer out there that if a woman wants to take my seed, she can for $15 million and a huge legal waiver that says you ain't coming at, and that's after tax, by the way, ladies. So if you want a little Aaron Clary running around, you could fork over $15 million after tax and sign a huge legal waiver. But you just, I think Ann, John, me, many other Gen Xers who are the latchkey kids, we are not fit to be parents. We're just
Aaron,
not fit.
What's the other little life philosophy that you like to live by, though? I just want to be a little contrarian here.
Right, enjoy the decline.
No, not that.
Hang on, Ann. You'll get what are you leading
Aaron,
me
you
towards?
You like to say this, and
humans are the most important thing in life.
No, that's one of them. But
okay,
what's the enemy of the good again?
The enemy of good is perfect.
Yep. So that would be the only. That's my little retort. Would be
okay. All right.
No one's ever perfect. No one's ever really ready.
I understand that, I would bet you John and Ann have the exact same thing. I'll bet. Now let me lay this down to you. I think early on, I'm a big believer in genetics. I'm also a big believer in epigenetics, that your genetics change as you live. And not on the scales of millions of years and we evolve to grow fins or whatever, but in your lifetime, you can have drastic genetic changes. And if you are brought up in a poor and unstable household, a broken family, if you're smart, the concept of having another kid is genetically it's repulsive to you on a genetic level. So every bit of logic, philosophy, history, everything I know points to you should go have kids. I understand that. I understand that's why I'm bored. I understand that's why I have all this energy. I understand that this should have been dedicated towards having a kid. But when you ask me in my heart of heart, the souls of souls, hey, do you want to have kids? It repulses me because that was beat out of me as a very young child. And it's not, I mean, you can add on to it. I don't want the kid to grow up in this environment. I don't want the kid to grow up in an anti-white. I presume I would have a child with a white woman. There's all those logical explanations. But I think sometimes environments are so toxic and vile that it can actually purge your 2 million years of human evolution, genetically engineered, hardwired desire to have, it can purge that from you.
I can see that.
And I think John has it. I think Ann has it. I think many Gen Xers have it as well. I'd be curious to hear their thoughts.
Back to the space thing. That's totally true. The epigenetics thing, environment can influence your genetics. The astronauts that go into space, I think they had the twins. The one went up, so they have the same genetic material. The one went up into space and lived on the space station. The other one stayed on Earth. And the guy up in the space station, I think in like the 1 or 2 years that he lived there, his genetics changed like 10%. So the idea that your environment can influence your genetics is 100% proven and true.
Yeah, Ann, you were going to say something.
I was kind of interrupting Aaron to tell him how right he was. I'm just sitting here like nodding my head so hard I'm actually banging it on the table.
Are you thrashing out to some Rammstein?
Yeah, I've never heard anyone describe it that well. After a few years of just
hell,
I was a teenage girl and I would see babies and I would get physically ill. Like everyone else would be like, "Oh, a baby! I can't wait to have a baby!" And I'd just be like, "Don't put that thing on me! Get that fucking thing away from me!" And I think it's an instinctive or genetic change. It's your brain telling you that you shouldn't do that.
It's survival. That's what it is. I mean, John, what I love about you is you're always dark and you don't tell us much about you, but you didn't come from no easy background.
No, I got to kind of just reiterate what Ann said about you. You said it, and I never really thought about it that way. It actually kind of hitting me hard. I'm still intellectually digesting what you said, and I think it's true. I mean, my childhood was really, and I kind of big on boundaries. I don't overshare, as you know, but my childhood was fucked up. So, I guess, that's, really why I didn't. I mean, it was just so awful that I guess some part of me was thinking that if I had a kid that they would have, I would kind of relive that horror over again.
Yeah. And you also get a kind of, what do you call it? Like a vertigo, because you could imagine yourself doing, like, reproducing that experience for that child.
Mhm.
And you think of the moral revulsion that you would feel towards yourself if you did that.
I'm not joking, and I don't mean to sound impressive or anything, but this was one of the defining things that sent me down the path towards economics. I remember being 4 years old, and I had a brother and a sister. And I remember that we had to share presents. I remember resources being so tight. We had nothing to live for. There was Christmas, and hopefully you get some toys. And I remember that I did not necessarily the math, but just the simple logic that if I didn't have a brother or sister, I'd get some really cool toys. I might actually have a toy I liked. And so the concept of per capita, specifically having children, that was ingrained in me very early on. And I've taken that, and you could see it played across the world. You look at the poorest countries, well, they're typically where they have the highest birthing rates. Somalia, Chad, Ethiopia, these women spit out 8 to 9 kids per person or per woman. So this kind of, and especially if you're brought up poor in resources and you just, you want food.
Yeah.
Or you want to have fun. You see your kids at school, they got like an Atari 2600 and a new game. You're like, holy shit, I'd like that. And you got your Velcro Walmart shoes, not even Walmart Goodwill, or hand-me-downs from your uncle. You really have to, and you have to. There's no other way. You have to survive. You have to go through Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I know self-actualization is the peak, but in that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's safety, there's biological needs, then there's stability or whatever, however the pyramid goes. But at the peak, having children was always beyond the peak. Having kids, I need to have food. I need to have security. And if you stay that long in those two lower echelons of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your brain never gets the opportunity to pontificate or theorize about children or family or sports cars. You just want to survive.
Yeah.
And then even if you do get money, like I've been very successful, I've been very lucky in the past couple of years with Asshole Consulting, you can't turn it off. It's part of your hardcore wiring and programming by that time. And so I'd be very curious of all the Gen Xers out there that, you came from a broken home, you came from lower middle income or lower income, you were absolutely poor. I'd be very curious as to whether, and here's the thing, we got to provide an IQ qualifier because stupid people breed. You go to the trailer park, you go to the ghetto, you go to the barrio. The black community is absolutely atrocious and disgusting. Terribly sorry, that's not racist. It's just what it is. But in the same hand, you could say the go to Evansville, Wyoming, where it's all white people, and they still spit out kids being poor. There is an IQ level requirement there, but I've never understood, dumb or smart, how poverty couldn't purge you, how it didn't teach you that lesson that the more mouths you have to feed, the more fucked you are.
Yeah.
Race, IQ, or whatever. Or poverty. I just never. And then poor people keep on breeding.
Well,
that's the whole idea of the dowry in the past. Is that a father had to take care of his female kids, and if someone was going to marry his kid, there was an expectation of some monetary gift. That's what the dowry was. Oh, you're going to take my child, my girl, off my hands now of having to take care of. Okay, here's the dowry for you to be able to take care of.
Here's your donkey and your 3 shekels of silver.
Yeah. Well, can I ask a question of Aaron and Anne probably more specifically? But for me, well, of course we were poor because all that, for one can end all that. But to be honest, when I look back at what was really horrific about my childhood wasn't being poor so much. It was that my childhood was so uncertain. you know, like I was raised by like a single mother who,
Right.
you know, was working, and I'd be left with, you know, talk about daycare. I mean, she used to find people to leave me with. I don't even know where the fuck she found these people, like out of newspaper ads or something. I mean, this is before the internet or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, in your day, it was probably Fred and Barney on the chiseled tablet with the,
yeah,
with the
literally,
slope.
chisel clay tablets, and she would just leave me with. And some of these people were really fucked up. So when I look back at my childhood, one of the things I never had about it was, you talk about a sense of certainty. Like, one of the things I love about my life now is I like, you know, things kind of on an even keel. Like, I like to control my immediate environment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was growing up, I didn't have any of that. I didn't know where I was going to go in the morning, you know, and stuff like that. You know, and a lot of times I didn't know if my mother was going to come home and pick me up at night. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
no, I totally understand. I always thought our dad was going to ditch us. You know, that's how unsecure I felt. I remember one time my parents told me to go to one house, and I went there and nobody was there. And I sat there for, I think, 3 hours in the snow with my snowmobile suit and cried. Um, and I think I was like 7 or 8 at the time. If you go through that, fuck idealism, fuck June and Ward, fuck Wally and the Beef. You're just happy to have some fucking food and some shelter, and you know it's not going anywhere. And so this is not to besmirch DT. I mean, I'm not saying you grew up in Waizaze or anything like that. But for a lot of people out there, I think the concept of a family and children was purely a luxury or a laughable theory. You know, once you got money, I mean, John, you got your place bought and paid for, and you got a nice equity position, and you're like, let's not fuck this up. We're not going to introduce any variables that might fuck this up. And a kid is a huge variable right there. And so I think you're going to see a lot, and I even did an article about how a lot of men, I estimated, what was it, $4 or $3 trillion? I'd have to look up the figures again, but there's a multi-trillion-dollar inheritance, generational inheritance that has no heir. If you calculate the number of men and their average assets and wealth and earnings and blah, 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 and they don't have kids, there's a multi-trillion-dollar estate to be inherited generationally that men like you, me, even Ann, I mean, because you're going to have an estate, that we're going to have to pass it on. And so I got like nieces and nephews and my girlfriend and all that. But it kind of shows you, it's like, no, I just want fuck happiness. I want stability. I want concreteness. I want knowledge and a finite security above all else.
well, do you guys feel this way? Like, one of the things like about my adult life, when I got out on my own, I moved, 3,000 miles away from where I grew up, and I bought my own home and had my own business. And do you? I mean, part of it is just like my childhood was so fucked up. I just wanted to be able, like, now I get to enjoy my life.
There was an element of that, like I just wanted to get away from home. Now, thankfully, I had a really great stepfather, and my mother was well intentioned. But you're a mom, you can only do a certain. But I did want to get out, but it was simply because of my own determination. I think it was more my personality. It wasn't like I was trying to escape or anything, because it was a good home. But I did what irked me more than anything else was the poverty and not being able to afford anything. And I mean, so I was like, these people are not going to do it. Like, by the age of 18, you knew your parents fucked up. You knew that was not the way to do it. And so you're like, I can do better, and I'm going to set forth and go on my own. So that's why I left, but not on bad terms or anything. It's just like, nope, my future does not lay here.
Yeah, I can speak. I mean, I sort of definitely understand where you guys are coming from, because I mean, there's no, in my mind anyway, there's no way that my upbringing was ideal or even good, really. I mean, unfortunately, my dad was sort of I don't know if it's bipolar disorder or he was very narcissistic, kind of just into himself, didn't really. I mean, that's why I discovered the red pill, right?
Was he a pastor by chance?
Huh? No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, that's why people that discover the red pill, they did not have fathers that actually gave a shit to, raise their sons prepared for reality. So, I mean, that's why I discovered the red pill, is because I look back on how I was raised, and it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, what the hell, dude? I mean, you had this gift sitting here. Not to speak too highly of myself, but I was very smart, very moral, I turned out really well, but I could have turned out even better, I guess, if I had some
tutelage.
A true
something,
guide. Yeah. Just something there. And so out of spite, almost, I wanted to prove that it could be done better. I mean, it's almost like, okay, yeah, I have a lot of hang-ups about how I was raised. And Howard Stern said, no matter what you do, you're going to fuck up your kids somehow. No matter how perfect of a parent you are, somehow you're going to fuck up your kids. That's just the reality of life. But I did want to try to do it different. I think most boys do grow up wanting to rebel against their fathers if they know who their fathers are. And I think that's a reality too. And that's the part of the reason why the boomers suck so hard, is because they rebelled against the greatest generation, right?
The wisest generation that quite literally knew everything.
Right. So, but I can definitely sympathize and empathize with some of these thoughts here that I guess I just chose a different way. I chose to kind of do the traditional thing, I guess. But it was the same thing for me. I mean, my dream growing up was just, I just want to get out on my own. I can only depend on myself. I've felt that way my entire life, that the only person really looking out for me is me. And so I can totally understand why people would think that, shit, I can't bring somebody else into this. For sure.
Well, and that's the whole point I kind of want older brother to be, is you look at, even if you're married, even if it's a nuclear family, they're shipping these kids off to daycare. They're filling them full of Ritalin. They all get participation trophies. And inevitably, there's going to be some boys and girls that want to look for some genuine advice. And, you guys are, I'm not kissing your asses, but could you imagine what we could have accomplished if our parents fucking had their shit together and gave us the wisdom that we needed? Jesus.
God, one of my favorite stories about why I'm a little bit bitter. When I was in high school and I took the SAT, I broke the verbal section. Like, I don't think I got any questions wrong on it, except for the one that had a typo in the question. And I got my results back, and my dad said, "Hey, maybe we should apply to Harvard for you, just as a joke."
Right, exactly, as a joke.
But then he saw that it cost $60 just to apply, and he decided it wasn't that funny of a joke.
Right. Well, and that's where I just you look back, and I understand, you look back at your folks, and they were in their 20s at the time, and they didn't have all the answers. But thank God we have the internet now, where, we're not your dad, we're not your mom, but any kid that gets a hold of the red pill, male or female, you at least got the knowledge. Okay, maybe your folks aren't giving it to you, but at least you got the knowledge. It's there. It's look upable. When I don't know how many people I got who found me like searching, why did a girl stand me up? And I got a YouTube video. Why did a girl stand you up? Or why did this happen? Why did that happen? And the knowledge is at least searchable. There's an attainable, identifiable font of information out there that will explain it. A Quora, a YouTube video, anything else. So at least the generations going forward are not going to be as lost. But goddamn, if I had myself to be my dad,
oh boy.
I mean, hey kid, like heck, not to delve into detail, I won't mention names, but my neighbor next door, greatest guy ever, nice guy, great guy. He's telling me about his daughter who just finished up her 4th year over at Bethel, $50,000 a year.
Damn.
To get her degree in education, and grandma and grandpa and mom and dad and the taxpayer and everybody chiseled all this money into a $200,000 fund, and now she wants to go be a fucking flight attendant. And he's like, And then the guy who's the greatest, nicest guy ever. He's a great neighbor. I love him to death. I'll help him out anytime. He's like, yeah, I was kind of upset. I'm like, where were you? Where was your pussy and your balls and your spine to fucking say, no, dipshit, you're not going to $50,000 a year private school to get a worthless degree in education. Go to fucking Normandale, go to Anoka Tech, go to Hennepin County, go to Metro State, get your prereqs out of the way, then go to bumfuck Minnesota State U, pay your $7,000 a year. Where was it? And just this mopey, I don't know. And I'm like, what? Where's the leadership? Where's the fatherhood? Where is this? I mean, it's good for us. It's good for asshole consulting. It's great for older brother. I'm never going to run out of clients because apparently no man has the balls or the pussy or the spine to tell his daughter, no, you're not majoring in that stupid shit. No, we're not paying no $200,000 fucking dollars for it. So, I mean, I have a life supply of clients coming down the road. But my God, how hard is it to be a dad? I mean, DT, you're telling your kids not to major in stupid shit, right?
Yeah, and I need to tell them not to have a piece of shit computer either. So I've been listening to you guys quietly, watching my disk usage go up.
But at least you're going to tell your kids the realities of the labor market, right?
Oh yeah, yep. I've got a whole idea that would be probably a whole different podcast. I've got 2 girls, and my thinking behind it's going to be, I mean, being red pilled, it's like, if you want a family, if that's what you want, girls, that you once you're 18, 21, somewhere in there, go find a 30-year-old that's got his shit together and start a family. And then after you have your kids and you take care of them and everything, then if you want to go to school for something, then go to school for something. But if you really want to be some kind of scientist or something like that, then yeah, go to school. But if what you really want to be as a mom, which is great, then
be
that's
a fucking mom.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have to compliment your wife, Mrs. DT. I hold her in very high regard. I don't want to mention her profession, but she's really cool, man. I mean, your wife is top notch.
Yep, she's very smart.
She is very smart. Not smart enough to not marry you, but right, dumb enough you got her, but smart enough she makes a good living. Yes.
No, but Aaron, like you were saying earlier, like you'll have a never-ending flow of clients, and that's a good thing for both you and people though out there. But I mean, like, there's the young guys listening now, like what we didn't have. I mean, the internet. We were all talking about all the dysfunctions everybody's plugged into their devices, and all that's true. But at the same time, it does let people get knowledge and know that, well, one, they're not alone. I mean, I don't know, because I was an only child too, so also growing up in that dysfunction and uncertainty was really, there's always a strong sense of isolation. And I think if I had the internet where I could have reached out to other people that were in the same boat, I would have felt better. That would have kind of grounded me a little bit. So I think that, podcasts like this and stuff like that, just letting other people know that, like, yeah, you're not the only one where shit is fucked up. I mean, there's some sort of healthy camaraderie in that.
Well, I always said, like, you and I, because you're a little bit older than me, but you, me, and Ann, and pretty much every Gen Xer, we had to figure this out analog. There was no internet to go look it up. I distinctly remember thinking that the girls at my high school were fucked up, and I thought there was something wrong with my high school. Little did I know that 90210 and Melrose Place was fucking them all up across the nation. I didn't realize it was a nationwide thing. And so now at least the young boys and girls out there, you got a pulse, an immediate pulse on America's dating, courtship, male-female sex relations on the internet. You could compare notes. But back in the day, you were very removed. There was no way to confirm. So, and also there was no way to confirm, is it me? Is it something else? I mean, now you can pretty much assess online. You go hot or not, you can get how hot you are on a scale 1 to 10, mathematically accurate to a tenth of a point. You could look up and figure out why certain things are happening. You can do all this stuff and it'll answer your questions. You can figure out if there's something wrong with you or something wrong with society. But back then, God, it was wandering in the desert. You had no fucking clue which way you were going.
Yeah. I had nobody and nothing to guide me. And right now I'm writing a novella about 2 roommates I had when I was 21, one of which drove the other one to suicide. They were guys. And I'm thinking back about that time in my life, and holy shit, the dumb things I did, the idiots I hung out with, the stupid choices I made, because I was completely on my own, just thrown into the world with, no internet, no adults really.
Mhm.
And
now you're hanging out with us winners.
Yeah. But if I'd had something like this when I was that age, I could have gone, oh yeah, this guy has narcissistic personality disorder. I shouldn't let him be my roommate. I shouldn't let him anywhere near like me having to pay a landlord for things.
I ever tell you guys about she may have gotten hit by a truck story?
No.
John, you ever hear this story or no?
No, I don't think so.
DT,
I have.
You have? I'll tell the story real quick. Then, John, we're gonna go to the super chats and we're gonna close it out. I remember I got stood up, and I think I was like 26 or 27, and this was like you get stood up all the time, and 70% of the girls that said yes would stand me up. I'd always get I get a number back in the days when you got numbers. So one time I got stood up and I was just pissed off. And I called my mom, which you should never do. And I'm like, hey, Mom, how you doing? And she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm pissed off. She says, why? I said, I keep getting stood up. This girl, she's not responding to any phone calls. And, I don't want to be a stalker. And my mom says, well, you never know. She may have gotten hit by a truck. And my mom was serious. She was serious. Like, instead of just saying, no, Aaron, American women are spoiled cunts. And they think that they could just flippantly, if you haven't figured it out by now, they're not reliable, they're not responsible. There's nothing wrong with you. No, there's a chance a meteorite hit, she contracted Ebola, or she got hit by a truck. And that was like the ding moment where I'm like, no, she didn't get hit by a truck. And it kind of is all this way. And it's just kind of that. And I even wrote a post. She did not get hit by a truck, because all these girls will stand up guys. Now, she may have gotten sick, this and that and that. My buddy Tony DeMarco, who's still alive today. Every girl that ever canceled on me did so because she didn't want to go out with me in the first place. And that's the most truest thing ever. And now you can look that up. Now, when you're getting stood up, you don't got your mom say, well, maybe you're just fishing in the wrong holes. Maybe she got hit by a truck. Now you look it up. It's like, yeah, she never wanted to go out with you. You're short, you're skinny, you're fat, you're ugly, whatever it's you. Get over it and move on.
You know what else you can look up? You can look up crash statistics and find that's completely false too.
Yeah, I don't think.
Look at the truck crash statistics and go,
I had no idea where Aaron was going to go with that title, though. Maybe she got hit by a truck. I mean, there was so many different ways. I thought he was going to talk about like this girl he went out with who was such a freaking moron or something, and she was borderline retarded. And he thought maybe she got hit by a truck.
No. This was just and it got so bad. I even remember in college, I would double book dates. And one time I scheduled work at a security shift. I got a call at the HQ and they said, escort Clary, call. I'm like, what? So this gal called Amy said that you had a date. I'm like, oh shit, she showed up. I mean, it was that bad that you just assume girls, and not to delve into the world of dating and misogyny or anything like that. But when you have trained men so much that they just don't expect you to show up, that they start double booking dates or they take another shift, I mean, you really lost a lot of trust. And I was 21 at the time. So I, maybe I'm smarter than the average bear, but I can only imagine what universal societal distrust by getting stood up, flaking, whatever has caused within men in their 20s and 30s today. But
wow, this would explain a lot.
Why you get stood up? Did
your
boyfriend get hit by a truck?
No, I get stood up in weird, sort of like non-malicious, just and you can feel like it's different varying indications, but you can feel that like, yeah, the other person just sort of didn't expect you to show up anyway, so they didn't show up.
Were they on an escalator?
She's just gonna kill me. I mean, I am an
Kill me.
escalator person, so I didn't think I should stick around. I don't know.
No, and I think your problem is you keep dating those high school guys and you set the dates out past their curfew, so that might be the issue.
That's true, but no, seriously, I've been kind of bemused by this. I'll be like, yeah, I said I was going to show up, and he just kind of acted like he kind of assumed that I wasn't going to show up, so he didn't show up. What the fuck is up with that?
You can almost, I mean, giving advice to the younger people here as the older brothers, both boys and girls, you could just honestly double book. Just assume your date's not showing up. I mean, just
I've kind of started being tempted to do that because I'm like, well, Jesus, I just wasted a whole night.
Right. No, it's your time. It's your time, man. You got more important shit to do than sit there and fucking wait.
Yeah, and I get really pissed off because I don't stand people up. I mean, that's just a shitty thing to do. It's inconsiderate. It's narcissistic. It's seeing other people like they're not real. You're just
It's theft. It's theft of your time.
Exactly. Like all the other shit you could be doing with that time. So I've found myself thinking that way. I'm like, well, maybe I should book 2 or 3 dates.
Cool. All right.
I kind of find this. I mean, I'm older and stuff, but back in my day, I think people were more respectful of not. What's the word? Standing people up. I don't know if I've ever got quote unquote stood up in my life.
Really?
I've gotten those canceled at the last minute type of bullshit, but I never was like, oh, I'm meeting you at so and so place, and they just didn't show up. Maybe once or twice. Yeah, I've never had that happen to me.
I think the most spectacular and possibly least malicious one was a guy that I made a date with, and I had to work that day, so I was busy all day. And I didn't realize this because I'm not on my phone all the time, but he was sending me all these text messages going, so are you going to be there? Are you going to be there? Are we still on? And I wasn't paying any attention to it because I thought, well, we made a date. We planned it. I'm going to show up. So I didn't look at my phone. Like, why would you need to confirm 10 times the day up? I told him that morning we were going to do this. So we're going to do this. I got done with work. I got to the place. I sat there and I waited for like half an hour and I'm like, where the fuck is dude? So I look at my phone and there's all these messages saying, hey, are we going to show up? Are we going to show up? And I'm like, that's weird. So I messaged him back and I was like, yeah, of course I was going to show up. I'm here. I've been here for half an hour. Where are you? And finally I called him and he said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear back from you. So I figured you just weren't going to show up. So I went to bed. I
hate to say it. That's almost the standard. That's the industry standard.
Yeah, I don't really blame the guy.
No,
because that's just not that it's your fault, but because he's probably experienced that so many times before. That's why he was like that.
Yeah, well, it didn't seem like he was being malicious. I didn't really get angry. I was just puzzled. I was like, well, I said I would show up, so why did you assume I wasn't going to show up just because I was at work and didn't answer your text messages?
Because all his other dates got hit by trucks. All right, John, take us to the super chats. What do you got for questions over in the chat?
We have a $5 super chat from L or oh god, I can't see your name, buddy. I'm sorry. He just said, guys, Sky King was married. He was having family issues. That's the guy. That's the Seattle guy who stole the plane and crashed it.
Oh, he's having family. Okay, all right. Thank you for the donation, by the way.
Yeah, Atham sends $6.66.
There's a shock. There's a shock.
He says, like, comment, and subscribe, you ungrateful dogs. Cappy, I got a night job, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Now I can study and do homework while getting paid Cleary style.
Oh, that's our buddy Atham. Oh, the Mexican got his head out of his ass there. Oh, look at that. Good old Atham there. Thank you for the 666.
And L or let me try to see it. L or Gulal del Jalisco 2.
Got a lot of Latinos tonight. Got a lot of Latinos tonight.
The same guy from the first one.
Oh, okay.
Same. That's why I didn't say the name. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that name, buddy. I'm sorry. Guy, he says $5. Guys, I had a patriarchal father from Mexico, but I learned the red pill the hard way, being heartbroken by a beautiful blonde girl from Spain. Actually, I dated a girl from Spain. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, usually it doesn't always start with a woman. That's how we all learn. That's it for the super chats. There's lots of different talk in the regular chats. Just one guy actually mentioned, this is to DT. I think that Jules, we mentioned Evola. I'm assuming he means Jewel Evola, who I did read Revolt Against the Modern World. I don't know if you're familiar with him, DT.
No, not yet.
He was a neo-fascist Italian guy. Interesting
Revolt
guy.
Against the Modern World. Is that?
Yeah, you can look Jules Evola, Evola.
Oh, okay, that's
Julia. Is it Julius? Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
Evola. That's he said. Evo. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Evola. Yeah, I think it's Julius Evola. But yeah, I did read that years ago. Weird guy, but he had a lot of traditional views about men and women and stuff like that. And he was kind of a neo-fascist, or whatever.
And he was in Spain, or where was he from?
He was from Italy.
Italy. Okay.
Yeah, and or God, buddy, I wish you could. He sends
call
another
him
$2.
Steve. Let's just call him Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Steve sends another $2, but doesn't say anything. He just likes giving it. He likes.
Well, hey, you guys want to give the super chats? Please do.
He was saying earlier he's drunk, so he's I'm totally wasted.
ask him. Hey, Steve, what do you want to be called? Because John can't pronounce Spanish words. Just tell us what you want to be called.
Arugula. Let's call him Arugula.
Why are we going to call him Arugula?
Well, look at his name. It sounds like the Arugula of Jalisco is kind of what it is.
Well, I'm afraid that if I looked, I'd end this podcast, and I just don't want to fuck with things. I don't want to fuck with things. So
Mayo. He says he wants to be called Mayo.
Mayo. All right, we're calling him Mayo. That's what we get it. All right, that's it for the super chats. That's all we got in the chat room.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's lots of stuff in the chat, people just going back and forth, but that's
I know that's how it goes. So, all right, let's do. We'll go through the stuff. I want to go through maintenance here. Like the video. If you guys are watching, I got like 50 or 60 people watching right now. Please like the video. I don't know
what. Hit that little thumbs up, guys.
Hit the thumbs up. That's the least you can do. It costs you nothing.
I was the seventh one. I liked it when it was at 7. Yeah,
you liked it?
I just hit it now. I'm 13.
Ah, there we go. 13. We should have 60 like immediately. Like everyone should go there. So I'd appreciate if you guys do that. Go to olderbrother.com. If you guys have a question, email me at olderbrother@yahoo.com. We got that. If you want to support the show, you could do that 3 ways. You could go, all of which are located at olderbrother.com/donate. We have a Patreon account. You can go patreon.com/Aaron Clary, and you get nothing out of that. You could go to the PayPal account. I don't know what the URL is, but it's over at olderbrother.com/donate. You could click on the banner there. Or if you want something out of it, and I think this is the best way because it benefits everybody, is you could do all your Amazon affiliate shopping, all your online shopping through my Amazon affiliate program. You go to olderbrother.com/donate. You click on the Amazon banner. That takes you immediately to the Amazon website, but there's extra text and code that says, hey, you came from Cappy's site, and whatever you buy, I get a 6 to 7% commission and a cut. So you're going to buy this stuff anyway. I know a lot of you guys, a lot of people say, oh, dang it, I forgot. Don't forget, that's the key thing. I know you guys want to. The key thing is getting into the habit of doing so. So bookmark it or whatever you got to do. Don't do your shopping on the phone. I know all you youngins like to do your shopping on the phone because it's easier that way. Don't do your shopping on the phone. If you want to support the old captain and all the kind people here, I'm going to buy them drinks one of these days for all the time that they put forth into this. Go to the Amazon affiliate program. Do all your Amazon shopping there. Super chats are available. I think next week. No, maybe this Friday. I should have super chats available on the traditional Asshole Consulting YouTube channel. This is the Older Brother YouTube channel, but we also have the I have my original YouTube channel where all the Asshole Consulting videos are. That should be qualified for monetization. So henceforth, either this week or next, I will be broadcasting via YouTube for the regular Clary podcast, so I can make more shekels.
We got one more super chat. Can I say?
Oh, cool. Yeah, no. If they pay, we play.
Yeah, it'd be really fucked up if someone pays. Talk about. All right. Sean Parton says or asks, how does a millennial Gen Z woman get red pilled? Do you think that women will wake up to reality in the next 10 to 20 years? I'm going to ask Ann to address this one first.
Have her do a real job, maybe. Have her do a job where she has to work with the public and has to see how people act and people of her generation interact with others.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's almost impossible because you got to realize just how much was invested in getting, not millennials, but everybody in K through college, how much was invested in getting them to have the blue pill or the correct leftist, socialist, feminist thinking. The best way I've found is you are alpha as fuck and you just pat them on the head. Like the girl's got to be physically attracted to you. Like she's got to want you and say, yeah, feminism stuff is real cute. And they will drop it in half a second. So it's not like you're yelling or lecturing at them. This is where the betting tactic comes in. I don't know if I've told you guys about the betting tactic, but I used this when I was in my 20s at parties. I was the only non-leftist. I was a libertarian. I was a non-leftist. And a girl would say something about poverty. And she'd say, all right. I say, I bet you're wrong. And she'd say, what? I say, I bet you're wrong. What do you mean? I say, I bet you coming over to my house wearing French-made lingerie, cleaning my house for half a day, you're wrong. And there was a playful element to it, but I believe that deep down inside, these women want to be traditional women. They want to have a masculine man. They've just been thoroughly indoctrinated. But if you can get them wet, and that's a big if, because they got to like you first, you can playfully bat that foolish. That's what you gotta. That's cute. You think of feminist theory. Now I want your ass in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, and you can laugh a joke about it, but they're like, ah. And I've seen guys do it. I've seen one guy. He's like, "You're not on drugs anymore. If you date me, you're not on Ritalin. You're not on Adderall. You're not depressed. You're just using that because you're weak." And so I think that's about the only way is being adamantly and unapologetically adamant but playful about being a masculine man and patting her on her head. That's cute. You think of, oh, here's another one that you can do. You can just say, wow, you're a Democrat just like every other girl. How common. That's a way to, you got to unlodge them like that. But otherwise, it's, unless you're really good looking, they're going to be steeped in that shit. It's very hard to dislodge them.
Yeah, and also don't be going around trying to unless you're doing it just for fun like I do. But don't be. I don't even try to unred pill or to unblue pill them or make them red pill. I mean, just look. The feminine craves the masculine. If you're a guy, be masculine. You're going to attract the feminine. Chad Elkin sends $2. He said, "I'm not sure what this means." He says, "Use this to get out of Facebook jail."
I was already out of Facebook jail. I forgot to send him a link. Ah, damn it! We're supposed to have Chad on. Shoot. Oh, fuck. I forgot to send him the link. Damn. Tell Chad I'm sorry. Chad, I'm sorry. Never mind. He's listening right now.
Chad, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're really fucked up. But the guy even sent you $2 even after.
I know. It makes it, that's like pouring salt on the wound.
Yeah. But Chad, he is, I'm going to make him pay for this. I'm going to pay Aaron a visit.
Oh, he said he just couldn't make it. It's all good.
Good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I want to have other people on, like Doc's not here. I want to have Doc on. We got to, we'll cycle people through. So, all right. Anything else in the chat there, John?
Well, no, someone just asked if you're going to write another book, and if so, what on?
I am. It's going to be the female equivalent of Bachelor Pad Economics. I'm not going to give away the title. And it's going to be a
Bachelorette Economics.
Yeah, it's good. Well, no, it's not going to be Bachelorette Pad Economics. The title is going to be much more invoking and controversial. And I do want to get more exposure to a female audience. And I also, because this is not the only reason I wrote Black Man's Got Out of Poverty, but I like the fact if anyone calls me racist, I say, oh, I'm sorry, did you write a book to help out the world's most impoverished class? Oh, you didn't? Well, shut the fuck up, cunt. Well, and so it's going to be the same thing with the Bachelorette Pad Economics. It's going to be like, you're a misogynist. Oh, really? Did you write a book to help females like close the wage gap? You didn't? Well, shut the fuck up, cunt. So that's basic, but it's going to be it's actually a lot of people who are not women are going to want to read it because it's how can I put it? The biggest victim group in the world right now, I think, is women, and not because of men. It's because of feminism and the lies they told women, how they've destroyed their lives, and how women are they don't want family, they don't want kids, they want the career, and just how they've trained women to hate men. And that's really, I mean, the adversarial nature that they've instituted in young women today. I think
so sad.
It is.
Right,
it is because I mean, I'm willing to admit the greatest thing that ever happened to men is women. That's how we're programmed. But women think the greatest thing to happen to them now is a career and a $200,000 in student loan debt for an education degree while you become a flight attendant. So I've never seen, quite literally since slavery, I've never seen such an egregious assault or violation of humanity than I have what feminism has done to women. You could arguably say that the Democrat Party has done to blacks and minorities, but in terms of total damage and lives wasted, it doesn't compare. I'm just amazed. Like 3 generations of women have been lied to, and this tries to highlight it, knowing full well the women sheep are so indoctrinated they're going to hate it, and then I will laugh mockingly as they continue with their masters in public health administration and their cats and their unfunded 401ks, or they have funded 401ks. They just never invested it. They just put it into money market funds, but that's another issue. So, oh, hey, by the way, guys, happy news, and we'll take off. I no longer have to teach online. My classes are done and over. After 19 years, my classes are done and over. Yep. And which now frees up the time that I can actually go and write books right now. So that is good news. So now the old cap, and I have like 3 or 4 books that I definitely want to write within the next 2 years.
Awesome.
Cool.
Before we go, another $5 super chat from Mayo, aka
why is it all? I like Mayo. Drunk Mayo's great. We got to have him come on regularly.
Well, no, he says I'm a millennial, 24 years old, currently active duty U.S. Navy sailor.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Good old man. All right, what about him?
And here it is. And if possible, I would love to be in your live cast, but I'll be drunk, to be honest.
Let's arrange that. He knows where to Sailor, email me over at assholeconsulting.com. We'll get you in, because I would like to one of these days get some millennial insight. There's this guy called Burger Creek. He's this British millennial. He just hates the boomers. He has a really great YouTube channel. I wanted to get him on, but I think he hates Gen X and baby boomers so much he dismissed me. But I would like to get some input from the millennials. But yeah, let's have him on for a segment. Have him email me. John, make that happen. Snap, snap, chop, chop. But yeah, Mayo, just email me, man. You know where to contact me. So we'll do that. Cool. All right. Ann, where can we find you?
Disasterfitness.com and AnnSturzinger.com and Amazon.com.
Will we find you on the escalators?
Very, very briefly, possibly knocking someone off as I should.
Cutting their throat with a large knife, perhaps, because they were standing still.
Could be.
Old children, infirm. Will you still kill them if they're on the escalator and not walking?
Actually, I even won't kill people with large suitcases.
Okay. All right. So everybody carry a large suitcase on the escalator in case Ann happens to be behind you. DT, what do you got?
HappyNihilist.net. What's in the works coming soon? Thus spake DT. The Will to Power Hour. So it's I think it's going to be good.
Wait, is it a podcast?
Yeah. Yep.
You didn't tell me you're going to do it. Wait. When does that come? Do you have an episode already?
Coming soon.
Okay.
Coming
soon. All right.
Sorry. I've got plenty of material because it's basically just going to be based on will to power. You know, Christians have their Bible and they talk about their Bible all the time. So nihilists, we should talk about Nietzsche's book, Will to Power, and just kind of the timeless lessons in there and how they relate to today. And I think it'll be interesting. So
awesome. I will tune in. John, you haven't put up anything last I checked. Always tune in to see if you got some like YouTube videos I can download, but you have nothing recent?
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about that. Well, first off, you can find me on Twitter at John_Steele99. My YouTube is John Steele Show on YouTube. And Sunday night, I am going to Davis Arini asked me to do his show for him, but it's going to be on my channel. and I'm going to have Heydrun on. She's a fellow pagan, and we're going to be discussing a lot of interesting things. I'm going to be covering mythology, going into Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey. Going to talk about mythology and the universal truths of the sages.
So boring, low IQ shit, right? Not intellectual.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're gonna be discussing, you know, the Minoans and the Indo-European Doric invasions of Greece and the pantheon of the Greek and Norse gods. And
are you going to talk about what LeBron James said about the other black basketball player who threw the orange sphere through the red ring with the white clothing at the bottom of it? Are you going to talk about that stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll cover that.
What about the large black woman who said, "Oh snap," with the fake nails and the weave? You going to talk about what she said about the other large black woman with the fake nails and the weave?
And the weave, yeah, that's a big thing among the black women. I think black women have convinced themselves it's okay to be 400 pounds if you have a really great weave.
Nice nails.
I feel so bad for our black brothers out there.
Yeah. Well, I do have a question.
Can't blame them for chasing white girls. You can.
The black men know the answer to this because I've noticed this. This first never struck me because I live in Seattle, which is very, very white. But I remember when Katrina happened years ago. That massive thing.
It's George Bush's fault. Yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed that the black women all weighed like, I'm not talking like that. I saw women 400 pounds, not men, 400-pound women, but always enormous. But a lot of the black guys seemed like slim and in shape, but the women are all enormous. I mean, is there separate diets for you people? What the fuck?
I think honestly, I think black men just got to run. You could read it in Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty, but there is like a black text and black men do have to hustle a little bit more, and that does translate to expending more calories of energy. I mean, keep in mind, they don't get possession of the kids, and they don't get the government check. Now, they might get another government check in some other way, but no, they got to hustle, man. They got to hustle.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's what's really funny. You want to talk about funny, then we'll go. Minnesota just can't get enough Somalis in here because they're the world's greatest culture. And what's hilarious is you see these skinny Somali girls come over from Somalia where they eat sand and rubber. And then they get an American diet and they just bloat up to these fucking land whales. And these poor skinny Somali guys, it's the same thing. It's like, dude, how come you're not fat? And the Somali guys, I'll give them credit. They got hustle. They'll go drive taxi cab or Uber or whatever. But the Somali guys are thin as rails. And then their wives or the girls, and they just blow up into just these fat, disgusting, like they wear the burqa. It's like, sweetheart, you don't have to wear that burqa because ain't nobody going to be lusting after you. No one's going to the size.
The freshman 15. The freshman Dude, 15.
It's the Somali 75. Yeah. That's what it is. You got the freshman 15. You got the Somali 75. And it's just, and it's sad because DT, tell me if I'm wrong. Some of those Somali girls are not terribly unattractive. There's some cute, you're like, oh, hey, how you doing, sister? Mm-hmm. And then you turn and you look to your right, and 10 seconds later, she's 50 pounds fatter than what she was before because she met McDonald's. You're like,
they sort of have kind of cherub-like faces. They kind of got round doll-like faces. So.
Round, try spherical. No, they do. All right, that's it. Thanks for being on the show, guys. Tune in. Go to olderbrother.com, assholeconsulting.com, captaincapitalism.com. All of our other buddies and pals, check out Ann Sturzinger, DT, and John Steele's sites. And remember, if you want to put an email into the Older Brother podcast, you can, as long as it's not an asshole consulting request. You can email at olderbrother@yahoo.com. We'll see all of you guys later. Toodles.